This is the Hagmann and Hagmann Report for today. It is Wednesday, April 30th, 2014. I'm Doug Hagmann, along with my co-host Joe Hagmann. Together, we are the Hagmann and Hagmann Report. Folks, you're about to hear an incredible 3-hour of programming, unbiased and uncensored news, information, and analysis. Information that you need to know. And folks, you're listening to the only show where the news is presented to you in 3D. We look well beyond the headlines, the bylines, the fog of disinformation, misdirection, to bring you the news behind the news. Ladies and gentlemen, tonight we have a very, very special news breaking, just a spectacular program coming up here in just about 2 minutes is William Robert Tosh Plumlee. Now, he is a former CIA contract pilot. He flew arms and ammunition for the agency during the Cuban project back in the 1950s. But he's been making waves, and a lot of them. The U.S. Department of Justice and the Obama White House wants to basically silence Mr. Plumlee. Mr. Plumlee last October 3rd, as a matter of fact, of 2013, had posted a series of 11 questions. Now, these are this whole thing is non-political. We're talking about life and death here, not right versus left. This is right versus wrong, okay? But he had posted a series of 11 questions to his Facebook account pertaining to the Benghazi attack. And as a result of that, Mr. Plumlee was, in exchange for his whistleblowing attempts, he was targeted by the Department of Justice and essentially told to keep quiet. Now, that's kind of a very shortened version of a complex situation. And we're going to be getting into that today because we asked Mr. Plumlee to come on, and he's been gracious enough to come on tonight. Because as we speak, ladies and gentlemen, and here is the historical part, as we speak, it is alleged that the United States Department of Justice is preparing a subpoena to be executed or delivered upon Mr. Plumlee for him to reveal the sources behind the questions that he asked. Now, if you go to HomelandSecurityUS.com, our home base, that's HomelandSecurityUS.com, not affiliated with any government agency. But if you go to our home base and you can take a look at the questions that are causing such consternation, folks, and there's a link to Mr. Plumlee's social networking site. I've got to tell you, Mr. Plumlee needs your prayers and your prayers of protection and your support because he is being targeted, ostensibly targeted, we believe, to be silenced by this particular Justice Department. They don't want this information to get out. But before we get to Mr. Plumlee, Joe, I just want to welcome you to the studio.
Glad to be here. It's going to be a great show tonight. We had a conversation with Mr. Plumlee before the show. He actually was on the Alex Jones show today for a little bit trying to get this information out as soon as possible, as it is timely information. And they are trying to silence him through a subpoena and a gag order, which we are going to be getting into tonight.
And just for the record, it suggested he not do any interviews, of course. The last thing that this administration or the government wants is for Mr. Plumlee to talk. Well, Eric Holder, certainly, if you go to HomelandSecurityUS.com, if you look on the right-hand side, our address for the effective services of process is there should you need anything from us. Of course, good luck with that. How's that sound? But without further ado, I'd like to welcome Mr. William Robert Tosh Plumlee. Welcome to the Hagmann and Hagmann Report, sir.
Well, thank you, sir. It's a pleasure to be with you, and appreciate the opportunity, although I was a little bit reluctant to continue whipping this horse, so to speak. But in the last few days, there have been a series of circumstances that made me feel like I need to get this out here before the fact. In case there is a subpoena that comes down on me, I've been told by 3 vetted sources, reliable sources, that the DOJ is in process of preparing a subpoena for me to appear before some committee. I don't know what committee. I don't know. I don't know anything other than that. that's what actually triggered me to start a series of interviews. If I am subpoenaed, I will honor the subpoena, but I will not divulge my sources, and I classify myself as an investigative reporter and journalist attached with Salem-News.com. That's about
right.
The only protection I've got is to come under journalism in order to protect myself from having to reveal military sources. I think the best way to start into this of why I got involved and how I got involved, I have to go back about 5 years ago when a U.S. task force was working with the Mexicans inside Mexico, U.S. military boots on the ground inside Mexico, training Mexico Marinos and to go in and actively weed out cartel members and bring them to justice, which was involved with the Carl Quintero and Chapo Guzman operations. This military team that was out of Fort Bliss, Texas, known as Task Force 7, a good colonel friend of mine, a couple of people were in that task force, and they asked me to go into the area of Juarez where I photographed weapons, hand grenades, body armor, military uniforms, stockpiled in the warehouse in Juarez, Mexico, as well as other weapons that were stacked and stashed in a warehouse between Columbus, New Mexico and Juarez. And those articles from 209 all the way up to 213 were written by Narco News, vetted, highly documented, and that started the process. Anybody can read those, the background of that. Well, that task force was eventually pulled out of Mexico, and they were sent over to Afghanistan doing drone work. And one of my friends was attached to a NATO outfit, and they were doing intelligence gathering. And in the process of intelligence gathering, they uncovered a warehouse in Benghazi full of American arms. Those arms were being pilfered, according to that source, and another source, and another source, military sources direct out of the Pentagon, relayed that information. A U.S. weapon from the direct commercial sales program, monitored by the Blue Lantern report, was being taken out of U.S. arsenals, shipped in C-130s to Jordan, Pakistan, put in CIA safe houses, and then relayed back to various factions. Not necessarily the rebels, the Syrian rebels at that point, because at that point in time there was no Syrian rebels, but factions had access to those weapons, and those weapons the ambassador found out about. He relayed information back on numerous occasions, the ambassador did, his staff, about what intelligence that they had uncovered about pilfering U.S. weapons from Jordan in this area. Now, that information was received and nothing was done about it. It was covered up. That's the information I got. Got any questions? Am I rattling here too much? I mean, you know.
No, this is good. Your narrative is extremely important, and we like it when you lay the groundwork for what you know and what you've seen. Obviously, you uncovered, based on what you're saying, just to recap and reaffirm this, you verified, uncovered, confirmed a weapons running operation in Benghazi, in Libya, in northern Africa. That's what you're saying, correct?
That's right. And it's the same type program that was used in the Iran-Contra to set up the Southern Front back in the Reagan administration. So basically what we have here, we have old operations that are actually used in a particular environment, and then over the years, maybe they're successful, gun running, and they're successful, so then later they pick those same type operations up, dust them off a little bit, tweak them, arrange them to fit into the day's environment, and then they continue running the weapons.
Okay.
The reason I zero in on... go ahead.
Okay, you said something extremely important, and I don't want this to go by without addressing this. To me, it's extremely important. You said that at the time this was discovered, there were no Syrian rebels. In other words, there was no civil war in Syria organized to the extent that we see it today. So what you're saying is that perhaps, or what could be implied here is that the influence by the United States intelligence agencies or as well as others could very well have created this civil war against Assad. Is that possible?
Well, that's basically what I'm saying to some degree. Let me see if I can put it this way. We end up seeing a conflict. We get involved in that conflict. We escalate that conflict, and we ship weapons to both sides of that conflict. We store those weapons to CIA safe houses on a program that is basically nothing more than money and profit. Selling the weapons, transferring the money to foreign companies, foreign agents, and using those weapons coming out of our stockpile, which are supposed to be monitored by our own Congress and Senate, and they're not. So there's no oversight on these weapons coming from the direct commercial sales and monitored by the Blue Lantern report of where these weapons end up. So when you're in a foreign country, and before the Syrian rebels were formed, there were scattered groups out there, and we supplied the weapons to those scattered groups, some of them being Al-Qaeda, some of them being on both sides. It doesn't matter. My viewpoint didn't seem to matter what the legalities of the situation were. So it was the similar situation of the Iran-Contra, setting up the Southern Front, violation of the Boland Amendment, same type MO, same type operation, because the operation back in Iran-Contra days was very successful. No one went to jail, and anybody that did get convicted of any crime were immediately pardoned. Same thing is going to happen in this situation if anybody is brought to justice for gun running to the Middle East.
Okay.
I know what I'm saying right now. I know this is very, very delicate, very sensitive, but I'm not going to pull any punches. I'm just going to tell it like I know. Go ahead.
Well,
sorry, I didn't mean to
no, this is fine. I don't want to interrupt you. Just tell us what you know, Mr. Plumlee. But my first question, my first question. Let me ask this, and then if this is appropriate to answer, and by the way, if I ask anything that you can't feel or you feel you cannot answer, then certainly say so. But who's the mastermind, or who was or is the mastermind behind this project?
Okay, I'm going to give you my opinion on this, and it's going to get me in a lot of trouble. POTUS. And not just Obama. This goes way back. This goes back even to the Reagan administration. There's another world out there, an average world at the age of 5 have no comprehension even exists. And then when someone like me comes out and talks about that other world, it is so phenomenal, so far out of reach that it's just not believable. And then when you get the dogs of war and the attack teams on you to stop this information from being leaked out, you become somebody like Snowden and some of these others. And what was that military guy that Manley that released a whole bunch of stuff? Well, they made him character assassinated these people. But the point is this: you're a government employee. It is your responsibility to report illegal acts. Same thing in Iran-Contra. When I was flying C-130s to the Iran-Contra to a secret air base called Santa Elena, it was my duty, by law, for me to report that illegal operation once I became aware of it. Otherwise, I could have been had charges filed upon me for not doing that. A lot of my pilot friends in that era went to jail because they did not go out before the fact and report the illegal transportation of weapons from our stockpiles to the southern front of the Iran-Contra in violation of the Boland Amendment, known as the Freedom Fighters, an operation pushed by POTUS, which at that time was President Reagan. So we have the president involved in an illegal operation, pushing the illegal operation, and basically what I'm saying, we have the same thing going today. This president that is sitting there in Washington, D.C., knows every damn thing I'm talking about right now. That Secretary of State at that time when those men lost their lives knew exactly what was going on in that warehouse at that annex and those weapons coming from the direct commercial sales program. And I don't care what Hillary Clinton says that she did or did not know. If she did not know about those weapons, that's incompetence. If she did know about those weapons, she lied to the American people. Now, I do not want to get this into a political ramification, but facts are facts. These elected officials of ours know exactly what's going on in this gun running operation, and it's a money deal, and the money is being filtered back through campaign contributions to elect those that will carry out the policies of this POTUS. Now, can I say it any plainer than that, sir?
Well, no, I think you've just summarized the entire operation in a few paragraphs here. Really, there's no difference between folks. This is not a political issue. It's not right versus left. Again, as I said, it's right versus wrong. It's a violation of international law. It's a violation of our domestic laws, the Boland Amendment, and you, sir, are carrying out your duty as a government employee to report illegal operations, and in so doing now, you're under threat of subpoena and being muzzled. Does that about cover it?
Well, look, this goes back so far. I mean, we're not talking about just being Nazi. I mean, that was a couple of years ago that those four boys got it. But that could have been avoided. In other words, the intelligence network that we had, total failure. In other words, we've got good people working intelligence, tremendous people, dedicated people. When they gather something nowadays in this particular administration and this particular environment, in other words, that information gets vetted by other sources that takes it out and makes sure it doesn't get to media, mainstream media, because that's controlled too by this environment. And they make sure that this information does not see the light of day, even to the point they don't assassinate people anymore. They character assassinate you through their media trolls, in my opinion. And I'm talking about senior editors that hold these positions just like senior people in the political thing that hold positions for 20, 30 years and do absolutely nothing but be gatekeepers and stop the gathering of intelligence to be acted upon by the proper agencies. They turn things into a political arena. Diversions is what we're going through now. Divert the people from thinking and seeing what the hell is really going on. One example is what we're talking about now. 4 people lost their lives because of intelligence failure. It wasn't intelligence failure that they lost their lives. It was the failure of the administration to act upon the intelligence that was gathered. Simple as that. Good men and ladies put their lives on the line to gather that intelligence, keep our country free from being attacked from all quarters, and presented that to the proper authorities where they contaminated that information and fed on it and stopped it from coming public and stopped it from becoming into the public arena through media because it's a money deal. In other words, those guns are being sold. Just a few months ago, we just gave $16 billion to Egypt. Why did we do that? We've sent the guns from Edward P. Wilson. They're back in the Libyan deal that sit in warehouses over there in Libya until this thing escalated. And they used every one of those weapons and used them against our troops and killed from illegal U.S. weapons that were stored in a warehouse for over 20 years. When they run out of those weapons, then they attack our arsenal, pull those weapons secretly out, ship them on C-130s through private contractors to safe houses in Jordan and Pakistan and other places, and then filter those weapons to various factions. And some of those people are terrorists, and we know it, but we did it for money. I'm going to settle down here a little bit. I'm saying a lot of things, going to get my ass in a lot of trouble. But, hell, I've been in trouble before. So let's just go with it. Now, here's what I ask people to do. Don't believe a damn thing I say. Get off your butts, go out there and investigate it yourself. I've put 3.5 years investigating this stuff, and I'm not even, well, I am an investigative reporter. I'm a journalist. It's my job to gather this stuff. At least I'm doing my job a hell of a lot better than some of our mainstream media reporting is doing today. I do not manipulate what I find, which I try to edit it, source it, document it, and then I've been opened up a Facebook account to put it on Facebook. I'm appalled what my government is doing, and I want my country back, and that's the reason I'm doing this. Which we're in a very bad state. We're bankrupt and spending money like a drunken sailor. Anyway, that's getting off topic here, I understand.
No. Amen. And a question, Mr. Plumlee. I've noticed, and it's been reported, the increase in whistleblower prosecutions in this administration. And I know you don't want to make this political, but what in the intelligence gathering community has changed that they are starting to persecute and prosecute whistleblowers now more so than, congratulating them or letting them speak without censoring their information and letting the American people know what's going on? Why this huge crackdown on whistleblowers inside the government?
Well, okay, there's a lot of people, a lot of damn good people in government. There's a hell of a lot of good people in CIA, and there's a hell of a lot of good people in NSA, and there's a lot of good people out there from Joint Chiefs of Staff and all the way on down, and that are doing their job, want to do their job. Now, over the years, the system of putting in gatekeepers to protect political influence and the money flow going to campaign contributions, they put and infiltrate their own gatekeepers to stop the people from reporting information and the intelligence that could be damaging to a political party. Does that say anything? Did I say that right or not?
Yeah, absolutely, yeah. And we see,
what intelligence community has faced today across the board, and from the Pentagon and the Joint Chiefs all the way down, is having to work through these political gatekeepers that get these positions. They are not qualified to hold these positions, but they're put there to suck up the information to keep the American people from knowing what illegal acts and where the money goes. So we have an illegal, very bad government influence that keeps honest people that believe in the Constitution and the American way from doing their job. In other words, I'm saying this. America is in a slow coup today. It's in progress. There is a plan, and we're losing our freedom slowly because of lobbyists and special interests. Now, I'm not trying to go political. I'm trying to say exactly what I know and what my friends that are in the military who are sacrificing their lives, getting their butts shot off, trying to protect our freedoms, to have these illegal crooks tarnish their reputation and tarnish what they're doing and malign those type people that believe in this country and go to war and fight for it. I'm appalled that our elected officials do not stand behind those people. They're more interested in the buck than they are in freedom, in my opinion. So, again, and to get back to the Benghazi thing, my friends put their lives on the line by giving me this information because they knew that I would take it someplace, because I took it someplace when they contacted me when we were working in Mexico with Task Force Felon. So I said, okay, by golly, how do you protect your country? You got to do something. Apathy, in my opinion, is destroying this country. Laziness is destroying this country. People do not know what is going on, and people do not want to know what's going on because we've been desensitized. We expect it. We don't expect anymore, and we've laid down, and in my opinion, we've just rolled over, so we might as well stick a fork in us because America is gone. We're cooked if we don't change it now. So I'm hoping that by exposing these illegal activities of gun running all over the country, this is an international gun running operation which generates a tremendous amount of money, which is filtered back through. So you go to the question, follow the money. Now, all I've asked, and the reason I'm out here talking, is get other people, try to motivate other people. Go out and check what I'm saying. Go out and do your own investigation. There's an old saying in journalism, don't believe a damn thing. If your mother tells you, go out and check it out. Well, don't believe anything Tosh Plumlee says. In other words, I'm full of crap. Let the Spirit of God be witness to your spirit. Am I telling the truth or am I fabricating? If I'm fabricating, then I'm one hell of a genius to fabricate 25 years of this stuff. So I should be, wow, in my opinion, of course. I'm getting a little carried away here.
Hey, you go ahead and get carried away. So what you're
here with all this lying bastard? I'm sorry.
Well, that's all right. We'll cut you slack because look, you've got to be under tremendous pressure here. I mean, you. By the way,
well, pressure. I don't worry about pressure. I mean, what the heck? I mean, look. If they want to come head to head with me, I'm willing to go head to head with them. I have absolutely nothing. I am an American citizen, and I love my country, and I honor those people that have sacrificed their lives in order to keep me free. And it really makes me upset when I see these politicians, these elected officials, that's never done anything in their life except play politics with people's lives. It upsets me when I think about all my dead friends out there who have just been laid all over battlefields in order to keep me free. I feel it's my responsibility to go to bat for them and say something for them. So hopefully I can do that. I'm not a rebel rouser, and I'm not trying to do anything except this is what's been going on. We had it in Mexico, documented. Narco News. Go run my name through the search engine of these places. I've been trying for 3.5, 4 years to pull all this together for the American people into one place so that it's not disjointed like mainstream media does. Put it on the back page, put it up here, put it over here. Report it once, but don't do any follow-up work on it. That kind of stuff. Keep the American people in the dark. Make them like a mushroom. Feed them the same kind of stuff. In other words, keep them that way. That's our political thing. Our elected officials do not work for us. It has been demonstrated. It's not something that's alleged. It's been demonstrated over and over and over. How long does it take us to finally realize through their demonstration that they're not working for us? They're working for special interests and lobbyists and also gun merchants, and they've been doing this ever since the Kennedy assassination and before. So,
very interesting. Now,
I'm 76 years old. I'm 76 years old, and I've walked this thing. I've been torn both ways. I don't like some of the things I've been involved with, and some of the things I do like that I've been involved with. I've known some damn good people over the years, and good people in government, and also in CIA. CIA is not always the dirty bad guy. The dirty bad guy sometimes can be found in that POTUS office up there, and that administration who runs them. We do not have a president. We got a machinery behind the president that pulls the levers. In other words, we got to follow the yellow brick road type thing. We got a man behind the curtain. We got a whole bunch of men behind the curtain trying to tell you that what you know to be true is not true. We're running guns all over the damn world. We're sending the profits to that to campaign contributions, and we got lobbyists that have access every day to the White House. 272 visits, 1 hour, 1 day, 1 week from lobbyists. What the heck's going on here? How come we're being lied to? When are the American people going to speak up and demand more from our elected officials than what we're getting? Again, I just turned it into politics myself, and I said I wasn't going to do that. But truth is truth. And if anybody really looks at it, they're going to be annoyed and as pissed off as I am about what's going on in this country, from the Attorney General, President, on down to every elected official that sits out there. These cronies that sit on that bench up there for 40 years that do absolutely nothing but play politics and make tremendous amounts of money, my gosh. Check them out. How can you go and be a government service and make billions of dollars in 20 years? I don't understand that. But anyway, sorry about that. That's my rant for today.
No, that's fine. You said a mouthful there. We've got a machinery, a lot of men behind the curtain running things. Mr. Plumlee, in your experience, or if you would speculate, who's running things? Who's behind the curtain, if you will?
Well, I don't know. I have no idea. I mean, you hear all this conspiracy stuff. I'm not a conspiracy. And then when you start getting in this venue, then you automatically get labeled as a conspiracy, a radical conspiracy. In other words, I've got a politician, I won't name him, that just recently turned out and told, and if I get a copy of this affidavit from in the halls of our illustrious sacred halls of Washington, D.C., if I get a copy of what this politician just told two people about people like me that post and use my name on Facebook are no more than domestic terrorists. I'd be damned if I'm a domestic terrorist. I post what I know to be true, and I pull it all together for the American people to read and come to their own conclusions, make their own assumptions if they want to, discuss it if they want to. But for a person to sit here and make reference to me as a domestic terrorist because I do not agree with what is going on in my government at this point is appalling to me. If I do get that documentation where this particular senator said that, I will file suit against him, and I hope he's listening to your broadcast right now because he has really pissed me off. And I did not get involved in the Bundy deal. I will not be labeled into that because I disagree with what that SOB is doing or has done. If anybody needs to be investigated, we better start investigating some of our sitting senators that's been sitting on that ivory throne for over 50 years or so. That's our problem. It's not all POTUS is our problem. POTUS is nothing more than a figurehead sitting up there taking orders from somebody else, and you ask me who, I have no idea. We could get into, say, Trilateral, we could get into bankers, we could get into all this, but then that goes absolutely nowhere because that becomes conspiracy stuff. So then you become labeled as a conspiracy. And by the way, years ago, the CIA set out a thing to most of their operatives and caseworkers that when they run into someone like me to label that person as a conspiracy theorist. So therefore, that's a form of character assassination. So today we have people, when people like me come out and blow the whistle or talk, they aren't going to come out and kill you. They're not going to psych you up to commit suicide. They're going to character assassinate you. After this broadcast, I guarantee you they're going to come on me like duck on shit. And I'm ready for them, and that's why I am keep hitting the way I'm hitting you right now. Maybe I'm doing the wrong thing. Maybe, it's no shame people like me. I'm behind you, but by golly, when the chips get down, they're way, way behind you. You know, they're over on the other hill over there. So we'll see how this pans out. But I'm a little upset. I'm a little upset that they can sit right there and make accusations against me, and then when I make accusations against them, they retaliate. I don't have the privilege of retaliating because I don't have that power base. But let the people go and check out what I've said. Let them go and run my name through the search engines and read and study and put it together themselves and let them come to the conclusion and let them get on their knees and ask the good Lord in their own religion, whatever religion that is, let them ask and let them be guided by that spirit. That's all I can say about that. I'm not trying to prove anything. I don't want to prove anything. All I want to say is the Benghazi thing was known about. There was letters before that event happened from the ambassador and his staff that went back to let them know that there was wealth and being pilfered from stockpiles that was in Jordan. That group found out about that. They asked about that. They were told to stand down about that. Even some of them were told it was an ongoing investigation about that. Where are these people? Let them come out and confirm what I just said. Because 4 NATO people, 3 people from the Pentagon, is the people that passed this information to me because I think they felt that I would take it forward. These people could not take this forward. They would have been shot. They would have been forced to go to Russia and live the rest of their lives if they had come out and do what I'm doing right now. I am not a government employee, so I can sit here and tell you what I feel, and then I can only ask you to go out and confirm what I said. That's all I'm saying here now. I'm not trying to convince anybody. Now, the annex building had weapons in it. Those weapons were in process, being documented, so that the ambassador could have enough information to go back to Washington and present it on their table. The mistake that the ambassador made was the administration already knew about it, and therefore it set him up. I'm not going to go that way. I have another opinion, but I won't go there. I'll try to stay with the facts. So, there's 4 good people that lost their lives because of an intelligence failure, but it really wasn't an intelligence failure. The intelligence was there, but it was tampered with at the highest levels in Washington, D.C., and slanted by the Secretary of State and also slanted by the President of the United States at that point in time. I don't think I can say that any more clear than what I just said.
Mr. Plumlee, no, I think you've done very well. Now, on the issue of Benghazi, sir, we've got 225,000, at least 225,000 Syrians who are dead, millions of refugees from Syria, fleeing Syria because of the violence that has been conducted. These arms are an integral part of that. Now, let me just say this, Mr. Plumlee, as an investigative journalist myself and an investigator in the private sector for the last 28 years, I make contacts with people within certain, let's just say certain agencies, and have a variety of contacts. There was one individual in particular, and our audience knows him by the initial W, who had provided me with multiple accounts of what was going on in Benghazi. He is very close to this situation, and he's a good friend of the show. It's a good friend of mine. Now, having said that, there are certain questions, Mr. Plumlee, that he knows better to ask than both Joe and I do at the same time. So what I'd like to do is just briefly, with your permission, is turn over a couple of questions to our intelligence insider, who's got to remain anonymous for the sake of his life, and have him ask you a couple of questions. Would that be all right?
I have no problem with that. If I can answer, I'll answer. If I can't, I'll just tell you I don't know. I mean,
perfect. Perfect.
I have no problem with that.
Well, because this will help us, and of course, the flow of questioning will be a lot better. Now, with that, W, are you with us?
My friend just told me to settle down and enjoy this. I guess I got a little intense there for a while.
Yeah, it's a warm day. Need a little warm, cold tea.
Well, W, we're going to turn this over to you.
What's wrong with you? You're going to blow a gasket. Anyway,
all right, folks, we're making history. All right.
That's what keeps us alive. Is a little bit of a higher blood pressure. If the blood pressure gets too low, then you're not around anyway. So, hey,
I'm going to have another baby aspirin here.
The only thing that I wanted to back up and dwell on for a moment, and I want to make sure that everyone understands the catch-22, if you will, that you were placed in, as well as a lot of other people. It's a misprision of a felony to know of a crime and not report it. And if the tables were turned, if you hadn't said a thing and then stuff came out later on, you'd be the first one. They'd be looking for any scapegoat to nail this on who knew something and didn't do a thing. And all of a sudden, it wouldn't be about the crimes anymore. And all those guys would still skate. They'd flip it over and make it about contractors and people at the periphery who should have told us so we could find out. I'm telling you right now, John McCain, Hillary Clinton, every senator who went over to Libya before Gaddafi fell and who did negotiations knows what the hell was going on there and what the plan was about us moving stuff up there to get a little drama going there in Syria. All those NATO people knew what the hell was going on. And then they turn it around like you're the bad guy for saying something. The people that knew, when they're going to call you into Congress to tell them who told you this stuff, well, you know what? The American people should be asking them, well, what did you not tell us? And why aren't you coming clean on this yourself? You sit on the committee. You know what the hell is going on. Don't tell us you don't. It's a bald-faced lie. Bald-faced lie. Am I wrong or am I right there? And would you be the first one? Those contractors would be the first ones to go to jail.
Well, look, if I was a government employee today, like I was, like years ago, and I was aware of Benghazi and the weapons being stashed in Jordan at CIA safe houses and also being sent from those CIA safe houses to the annex that originally started this situation, and had the intelligence gathering about the infiltration and the buildup of this situation. Excuse me. Hold on a minute. Okay, yeah. All right. If they had reported that at that particular time, then something could have been done to stop that Benghazi raid. They knew exactly what the hell was going on. I'm talking about intelligence people. I'm talking about intelligence people working out of the Pentagon and the relay situation back to the satellite, back to what was really going on. These people can't talk about it. Now, according to that law you're talking, these people that know today about that situation and how it come down and know that it was an illegal arms shipment coming from our arsenals, technically they are employed by the government, and the law states that if they become aware of an illegal operation, it is their responsibility to report that to their supervisors, and their supervisors are supposed to carry that to a proper chain of command to its conclusion and investigation. That is a law. Now, why isn't that law followed? Now, if I was in a position and I came to know, like I knew about Santa Elena, Costa Rica, the secret air base known as Point West, and Oliver North's notebook, and I didn't go forward to talk to Senator Hart like I did back in those days, then when Iran-Contra broke, I would have went to jail like 4 of my pilots because I'm flying cocaine back into this country to be sold for weapons to go down to the southern front in violation of the Boland Amendment. If I had not went and talked to Senator Hart at that particular time and turned the battle maps and the flight maps over to him for his review to get a congressional committee to look into the illegal operation in violation of the Boland Amendment, technically I could have went to prison for 15 years. Do you get my drift?
And again, my point here is, I think when the truth finally comes out, we're going to find out that a lot of government employees did say something and either got early retirements, got shuffled out of the program, got threatened with whether or not they were on other subjects,
And some of them got character assassinated through the media, through trolls, set up people inside mainstream media. So there's an organization set up there. When you start talking too much out of school, you're not going to get media coverage. You're going to bring the media down on you just like well, I'm not going to go into detail, but just like someone did on me. They made it sound like I'm the guy that pulled a drug guy out of the country of Mexico, flew him out of the country so he wouldn't be prosecuted in the United States. That is not what happened, but that's what came out on mainstream media through a major network, and that's why I don't deal with major networks, because I don't trust them, because they're too infiltrated with CIA trolls. Well, I won't say CIA trolls, but government trolls. It's actually journalists that are hired to go in and suck up the information that I've got and others to make sure it never hits mainstream media.
That's right.
That's right. So that's it. And I mean,
you know, around. You mentioned Don Hall's place down there in Costa Rica, and of course, we're supposed to believe that runway there was built just for an emergency landing pad. That was $17 million. That was right there in the Tower Commission report. And these operations don't happen overnight. Those budgets don't happen in a vacuum. And these communications, we even have the communications from the Brits to the French. They were planning something there in Syria. They wanted to let the French in on it. You know, we've got a lot of data out there. The public has heard a lot of it, but it just doesn't get traction because mainstream media is got to bless it in order for it to suddenly be newsworthy. And if it wasn't for the Hagmanns, Jones, other groups, even Coast to Coast, allowing you and others like you to get on the air, and myself, people wouldn't have a clue what's going on. They really don't anyway right now. This is serious. These are international war crimes being run right under everybody's noses, and those senators, those Congress people who would bring you to a committee know exactly what is going on. This is about intimidation and shutting you up.
Exactly. I know that, you know that, and the only outlet we have in order to get protection is information before the fact. If anybody checks me, they will find out that most of the information, I'm talking about going back 30, 40 years ago, but most of the information that I have talked about is not to really expose, but mainly to protect my butt in case something sour come down on me so that I wouldn't go to a federal prison because I was authorized and sanctioned to fly those C-130s into this country and out of this country with illegal contraband. And that was a sanctioned government operation. That has been proven now. That is not an application.
Well, and it's not just for your protection. It's also because they intimidate your family and extended other people out there by insinuation. But, you know, the other thing that really bothers me is, you know, they'll use any other agency to come after you. They'll act like, well, this was supposed to happen anyway. Part of the thing that I think is going on, and you probably know it too, they get you into something else that then, well, you did this also, and you do have a problem over here, so they want you to shut up because they've got you done something else, and then you don't, you got to make your bones. When you're doing what you're supposed to be doing, you're doing what you did for your country, and somebody's going to try and twist it around. This smells rotten to high heaven, and the American people have not engaged like they did back in Iran-Contra because this crowd that happens to be in power right now, they're getting to skate on crimes, international war crimes.
Let me back up here a little bit. We're going in here to this administration. In other words, I'm saying there has been a systematic program to desensitize the American people and lull them into apathy. That's where we're at right now. Our young people do not even want to hear this stuff. My family's pulled away from me because they think I'm nuts for being engaged in this stuff, and I'm going to get myself in trouble, and I'm going to get killed, and why don't I just leave things alone? Okay. As I leave things alone, all I see is my freedoms eroding one by one by one by special interests and lobbyists that work through the Pentagon and work through the White House and work through the State Department to get their specialized operations themselves, which involves money, approved. That's the whole thing. In other words, all this stuff about no lobbyists are going to have free access, my God, there have been more lobbyists and special interests that's had access to our POTUS than ever recorded in the history, I believe. I hope my statistics is right. If they're not, they're damn close.
Yeah. Well, I just personally, think it's fantastic that you're in the fray on this and came forward like you did. I remember when Nichols came forward there in Arkansas. Go ahead.
Let me ask you something here. Let me ask you. You're very astute on this, I can tell. How do you motivate the American people today? How do we get people to demand more from our elected officials than what we're getting today? How do we do that? How collectively does this nation rally in order to protect the Bill of Rights and the Constitution that we're losing? How do we go head-to-head as a combined citizenry? How do we do it? How do we combine ourselves and demand more from our elected officials than what we're getting? How do we get into the Supreme Court to stop this craziness that's going on through that particular place? How do we get into these legislative bills that are being written by special interest lobbyists that have 24-hour, 24-hour access to our elected officials? How do we stop the money flow to our elected officials and stop the corruption that's rampart through our elected officials? How do we do that? How do we control our elected? Man, we have so many questions to ask, and we've got so many things that we've got to solve. My God, it would take a person 18 years old all his life to work and correct what has happened to this country in the last 50 years. We have been in a slow coup, and it's getting faster and faster. We do not have the freedoms we had a few years ago. Now, Benghazi was covered up. Why was it covered up? What was the motive for covering it up? What was the motive? The only damn motive I can figure is money. Money through arms. Mentioned Iran-Contra. It's the same program. There's a thing in karate, same but different. The same identical program that was run through the Bolton Amendment, through the Reagan era. It's the same deal. Take the operation, tweak it a little bit, dust it off, and then put it back out there and get your dogs of war to run it for you. That's what's going on right now. You've got Angola. We had Angola. You don't hear much about Angola anymore. We got Somalia. You don't hear much about Angola anymore. You don't hear much about Somalia. But, by golly, go down there and look at the guns that's in those people's hands and look at the RPGs and ask yourself, where the hell did they come from? I don't see that many.
Look at the tri-state region down there. Look at the tri-state region down there in the Argentina-Venezuela situation down there with the trafficking of arms and drugs back and forth between South America and West Africa. This
okay, now let me pull another one out here on you. Let me pull one out here to you about Argentina. How come we do not pay any attention to what's going on with the war in Mexico with various cartels? How come over 70,000 Mexicans have been slaughtered down there? A war on drugs, or whatever you want to call it, a war on cartel. How come the Mexicans are suffering in their war and we don't care about it? And how come we wanted to stop so much investigation into Fast and Furious because of the guns flowing across the border into Mexico, guns flowing across the border into Ecuador, American guns flowing across the border into Argentina? I don't see Russian weapons in these pictures, and I don't see the confiscation field reports of where these weapons that are being confiscated are Russian or Chinese weapons, like some media people try to say. Those weapons are U.S.-made weapons direct from our arsenals out of Hawthorne, Nevada, flown in there by private contractors on C-130s as used as cutouts in order to get the merchandise over to the Middle East. That's all it is. We have refueling C-130s carrying weapons to the Middle East from our arsenals that ends up in these radical hands. I'll put it that way. Rather than say the Syrian rebels, they go everywhere. It's a gun laundering deal. We're sitting here trying to take guns away from the American people so we can, and taking our arsenals and shipping them over there to make money. But it's not coming back to our treasury.
You know, the other thing that I'm concerned here, Tosh, about, and I remember back during Iran-Contra, and then forward into when we had the situation with the drugs out of MENA. And we had investigations going on. We had DEA agents, IRS, we had other Treasury agents, and we had international agencies, if you will, that had all sorts of data, records, hard copy information, notes. And all of a sudden, Senate subpoenas all of that hard copy records for their investigations. The stuff went to Washington. All of it was boxed up. I remember talking with some of the investigators at the time. They're going, yeah, there's something's really going to happen now. I said, are you kidding me? They're getting all of your hard copy records. Even if you have a copy, you don't have the original, you don't have shit. They did. They got all that. And what happened? Nada. Nothing. Why? Because it's an open investigation. So the problem is they're going to get you under a subpoena, and then it'll just be standing there open-ended till it doesn't matter anymore for this administration, and goes into the black hole. It gets put right beside the Ark of the Covenant there in the Indiana Jones movie. Nobody will ever see it again. And the crimes go on.
All right. Now, let me interject here a little story. I'll go back. I didn't mean to get off on the Iron Contra, but it's a very good point because that's a nucleus of how this originated and began. I went to Senator Gary Hart with field maps, logged ID numbers of the aircraft that I flew, fuel receipts going to Santa Elena, Costa Rica, going into Mexico, to Carl Quintero's ranch, also training Guatemalan guerrillas at Carl Quintero's ranch when Carl Quintero was receiving $10,000 or $15,000 a month from the CIA to use that as a refueling stop before Santa Elena was built. I flew into those places. I worked with those Guatemalan trainees to go down to fight for the Southern Front. Okay, we made deals with drug runners. We paid them money. We paid John Hall $10,000 a month to use his air base. We paid drug runners down at Paco Solo to go in to use their cutout jungle runway so that we could pick up the paste and bring it back and get it sold so we could finance the Iran-Contra war. That's what we did. There was a lot of guys that went in and went to jail because they said that's what they were doing. Oh, you're a drug runner, boy. You're a bad guy, so you got to go to jail. The emphasis and the cutout was put on those boys rather than looking into who was sponsoring the operation. That was a White House operation.
Let's just put it on the table. We got a guy that died there that they let get shot up under the auspices of being a bad guy, Barry Seal, and he was a good guy.
Barry Seal
did freaking unbelievable work. Barry Seal did work for our country as a patriot, made himself look like, even his wife thought he was a bad guy. The reality is, Don Hall was a freaking OSS. Don Hall was OSS in World War II, and you can't tell me he wasn't working on straight out for CIA all that time with cover there on that Costa Rica location on the airport.
Okay, now, there's 1,000 stories out there like that. I'll tell you another one about a guy who got his head lopped off at Paco Solo because he had the names of the players in his boot. And he had an informant, a DEA informant, turned right around and ratted him off about keeping the name in his boot, and the guy come up behind him and lobbed his head off, put the head in a plane, and flew it back to Piedras Negras across from the Eagle Pass and left the plane with the man's head in the plane with a note, "We know who you are." You don't hear about that stuff in mainstream media. That was a drug-running operation, and they took a pilot that was undercover working for the DEA, and they killed him. They also killed Barry Seal. They brought their own people up from Colombia. I know all about Barry Seal. I flew the Fat Lady. You know what I'm talking about when I say that?
Tell me he had a $5 million communications system in his plane that was specifically to mask it from the FAA's regular controllers. The only person that could see that plane flying into U.S. airspace was the military controller off the side of the control room. And you can't tell me that he stole that or got it by nefarious means. You can't tell me that everybody in the Pentagon didn't know exactly which plane that was coming in to the U.S. and exactly where it came from and what was going on. That's just ludicrous. And then to act like he's a bad guy when he's got
the
that?
information. the information that I gave Gary Hart was documented. It had the transponder codes. That's what you're making reference to when these aircraft come back in. Which we had the transponder codes that was given to us by Border Patrol and Customs. Okay. That meant that when we come back in with this illegal contraband, all we got to do is turn right around and squawk whatever designated number that is at that point in time. And if we have a custom tracking plane on us, when we hit that squawk deal at like 9550, he'll turn right around and he turns away and leaves us alone. And we come across the ADIZ zone, Aircraft Identification Defense Zone, unimpeded. We land and our cargo is taken, and we're not molested in one bit. That's how you make the drug runs. Also, going out of the country, same way when you go into places like Santa Elena. There is no flight plan, but yet you'll run by transponder and you're cleared through beacons that are set up by the CIA. Now, I'm not supposed to say things like that, right? Because that's methods and procedures. I just exposed methods and procedures on an old operation that has also been picked up, dusted off, and used today by C-130s flying arms and ammunition to rebel cutout groups in the Middle East. We start the conflict, we escalate the conflict, and we supply weapons to both sides of that conflict for the sole purpose of profit. Now, I don't think I can say that any clearer. We used Iran-Contra to go back to show how the operation was modified, how the operation was tweaked, how it was organized through the White House to have the same damn thing going on today, except a little more sophisticated because we learned from our mistakes. We made a lot of mistakes in Iran-Contra. We hoped that we wouldn't make those mistakes in the Middle East. However, we lost 4 good people, so somebody made a mistake.
Well, but I would add to that, though, that what's going on in Syria with Iran-Contra, we never had the kind of numbers dead that we have in Syria, and that didn't happen in a vacuum. And this was about starting a war that 4 times since Benghazi, 4 times they tried to bait us in to some type of major military involvement to escalate our involvement there in Syria. Instead of being, 250,000 dead, had this administration had its way, you might be looking at 1 million dead or more. You got 7 million refugees by some people's count. You got 4 or 5 anyway. What's 1 million here or there? That conflict there is all because somebody wanted to disrupt the whole Mideast, and that was right here out of this administration. Those deaths, that's blood on our hands because we are right there making this happen. Now, you might have a strategic plan, and it might be about trying to take action to rope off Russia or something like that. But at the end of the day, that wasn't a legitimate, revolution going on as such. That was a game plan to bait us into being in a conflict there that, is no different than what was being done back at the attempt with Bay of Pigs or what happened with the Tonkin thing. And 4 times they weren't able to pull it off because of alternative media covering this thing and not letting up, and because of Benghazi and people saying we're not buying this story still. We're not buying this mischief here anymore.
It's true, and the only way that you can get this out nowadays is through mainstream media, because not mainstream media, through altered media, through the internet, through bloggers and so on like that. It's intertwined with a lot of conspiracy theories and all that, which that's bad. But within that, if you've got the time to really do the research yourself, you can find out the truth. You're certainly not going to find out what you just said through mainstream media. It's not going to happen.
But Tosh, let me just say this here right now. Let me just say this here right now, Tosh, and for every one of those people listening, the point here is that you and I are now going to be tagged as the terrorists. Well, we aren't terrorists, illegal mobsters.
That's already happened. I was just talking earlier. There's a senator that in the ivory halls up there was overheard. I'm trying to get an affidavit from 3 of the other senators that heard this. he made a statement to me, and it really pisses me off. He said this: people like Plumlee who blog on Facebook or this type of information are no more than domestic terrorists. I'm not going to mention the name, but I've got an attorney looking into this, and if I get the documentation from more than one source, I'm going to sue that SOB because he's defamed me publicly in the halls of Washington, D.C. I've given my life in behalf of this country. I love my country, and I want it back, and I'm not going to have some SOB sitting up there in D.C. in that ivory tower thinking I'm supposed to put my nose up his ass and kiss his balls because he is what he is. In my opinion, he's no more than a damn crook. I'm sorry for saying that, but by golly, I had to do that.
I'm not sorry for it. I'm glad you said it. I think you're absolutely right. I mean, that's the whole point here, isn't it? We have a whole public. The public is what. So the guy's got a clean suit and tie on. He's got the freaking congressional weight room to go down and take the shower and clean up 5 times a day and spray up and go see the barber. So he's a clean-cut guy, and he gets in front of the media, and he's got the bright lights on him. He looks really respectable. I think he's got a bunch of pieces of shit up there. Bunch of fucking terrorists. World-class terrorists.
Okay.
These people are world-class terrorists.
All right. Okay, here's where we got to go now. What are you going to do about it? How are we going to do something about it? How are you going to get around these gatekeepers? How are you going to play football with them and do an end run around the end? How are you going to do that? How are we going to do that? Everybody here can talk about the problem we have in the United States, but I have yet to hear anyone come out and say, this is what we got to do to solve this problem. When are we going to start thinking in terms of solutions rather than pissing and moaning about what the hell's going on? I'm the same way you are. I'm very upset with the way this country's going. I'm trying to do my part to get it back on an even keel. Now, why is it so important to defuse people like me, defuse people like you, defuse these people that we're not conspirators? We are trying to state facts, and we're trying to point people to get off the couch, get off their butts, and go out and investigate the facts that we present to them and come to their own conclusions. That's the only way we're going to make change. Otherwise, people like you and I are going to be labeled as conspiracy, malcontent, and domestic terrorists. You understand where I'm coming from on this? Look,
absolutely.
You're getting off on a lot of other things right now. Now, I enjoy this conversation with you, sir. I really do. Let's get back now to some of these questions that started this thing with Benghazi and started getting our ambassador killed. Do you follow me on this? What you were saying there is very right on, sir, and I support you 1,000%. We're in the same ballpark. What we're trying to do is figure out a solution of how we can launch our own, you want to call it a war against Congress and the Senate, and by golly, I'm at war with my Congress and my Senate because they're not representing me as an American citizen. That upsets me because by the process of evolution, we are slowly losing our freedoms. We are slowly losing this country to special interests and the lobbyists that work for the special interests, and the American people themselves are the ones that are suffering. The emphasis is not put on jobs. The emphasis is not put on the American people. The emphasis is put on foreign countries, and the only reason we're messing with this Ukraine is because we can sell a hell of a lot of weapons over there. It will be, in a few days now, there will be a big announcement of how we're shipping tremendous amounts of weapons to help those poor people fight these great big bad Russians. Now, mark my words, guaranteed, there'll be an announcement before long. $16 billion of arms going somewhere. $16 billion just went to Egypt here a few months ago. And here's the thing. When I read these reports and I go in and I check them out to verify them and see if they're right, as a photojournalist and an investigative journalist, when I go to check them and see if they're right, I got it's there. Why in the hell is the American people? Why aren't we demanding more from these a-holes up there in D.C. that are sitting up there in that ivory tower Why don't we American citizens demand more from those guys than what we're getting? I don't understand. We have rolled over, kicked our legs up, and said, oh, who's dancing on Dancing with the Stars tonight? Who's doing this? Who's doing that? I'm not knocking all that. That's great. But by golly, put some time in to trying to save this country from these evil people that are taking it away from us. That's in my opinion. I don't know. I don't know why I'm...
Well, but, you know, here's the thing, Tosh. Here's the thing, Tosh, and I think this is part of the problem. There's a lot of great guys, you know them, I know them, who it's a command structure thing, and they have to, at a certain level, you got to take a deep breath and allow command to work, allow these people to do what they got to do. And there's this understanding that, you know, a lot of times I don't know everything, so I've got an opinion, but I may not fully grasp what's really going on, so you shut up and you do what you're supposed to, and you kind of watch and hope things get back on a path or go where they're supposed to go. And for the rest of the public, so much of this is just completely out of sight for them. They don't know it. They don't do it. You know, it's off the map for them. And so unless people like you or I come in and, you know, we try to do it through proper channels, well, in a maybe a different day and age, you might have got somewhere in the proper channels, but right now, you're talking to a captured operation. You go out there and try to say something, you're more likely to get your head lopped off than get justice because you said something.
Oh, yeah.
And you know, I remember a very specific person. He said he was in a very sensitive position, as sensitive as it gets. I mean, his stuff is in the President's daily brief every day. This is in a prior administration, and he says, is what I'm doing legal? That's all he did. He went to the the attorney set up to do an internal thing where he could ask a question without getting supposedly in trouble to make sure he was on the straight and narrow. And he's one of these guys. He doesn't. If it says 35, he goes 34, and you know, goes slower than the speed limit because he's afraid he might go with the speed limit or over. And as honest as it could be. And all he did is ask, is what I'm doing legal? And supposedly he's supposed to be in a protected position. They came in, yarded the safe out of his wall, and put him in an ambulance, wanted to take him to a mental institution, have him checked out, see if he's insane. Just because he has to what he's doing is legal.
Hey, they did the same thing with Private Eugene B. Deacon. Anybody that's listening out there, look it up, plug it in. Private Eugene B. Deacon, going back to JFK. The guy had the lead from the OAS, the Algerians, on recruiting assassins to come into Dallas before it even happened, months before. They put him in an insane asylum and ruined him and his family for life. That's another story. We're getting off on a lot of other different things right here.
Well, look at what Nagel had to do with the Nagelian solution. Put the freaking bullets in the beam over the... You know.
What I was going to say, there's 1,000 stories in the naked city of cops. And you and I know many of them. A lot of the American people know none of them, and it's designed that way. So the only way that we can actually educate anybody with the background and the knowledge that we've acquired over the years is by defining the problem and then also defining a solution. So what are the American people going to do about all these things that you and I just talked about? We can sit here to doomsday telling stories about illegal things that were done on American citizens by the very elected of people that we put in there. We could go for 5 more hours on a radio deal talking about people that we know that got screwed in one form or another by this federal government, including the IRS, that are used to carry out certain policies and destroy the reputation of those people. I mean, this is the way it works. There's a system in place to defuse people like you, me, and others that try to come forward to motivate the people to motivate them to at least just check the facts. That's all. Check it out. See what's going on. The Benghazi questions and the Benghazi thing, we're getting a little off topic here and we're getting back into other stuff, and I'm not trying to shortchange anyone here, but some of these questions that they refuse to answer, we sent these questions to damn near every senator and damn near every congressman there was. We asked many, many times that these questions be brought up in a press conference. We asked CNN. We asked Fox. We asked all of them. Not one of these people that went out, one of these contacts that went out and dare ask one of these 11 questions. These 11 questions would first come out back in September when the task force began to make contact with me about things that were going on in Benghazi that they found out. They were appalled about this. However, these guys were military. They had their pensions at stake. These guys were officers. These guys, and more than one. And so they can't say nothing. They couldn't say nothing about the Mexico deal. That's why they contacted me, because they knew damn well I'd go down there and I'd say, if I told them this in Mexico, I can't say that you told me that there's hand grenades in that warehouse. I've got to go see it. Oh, we can't let you do that. Well, then I can't make a contact with the media unless you let me go in there and photograph those weapons, because they're going to turn right around and say I'm fabricated and do a number on me. So I want to travel with you. I want to walk with the boots on the ground. I want to go into Mexico. I want to take my camera as a photojournalist, and I want to photograph those weapons, and I want to get the serial numbers, and then I want to ask the direct commercial sales program, where did those weapons come from? So far to date, and that's been since 2009 and 2010 and 2011, so far to date, not one response has come from asking the question, where did those weapons that were photographed in that warehouse with U.S. has boots on the ground in Mexico that Bill Conroy of Narco News covered in detail and vetted through 9 separate sources? Where did they come from? How did they get there? How did 60,000 of Mexicans get killed by some of those American weapons? Now, phase 2, Fast and Furious, turned out to be a little local thing. Bull crap. There's guns been going across the border through Columbus, New Mexico, and narco graves down there since 2009. They've been recorded by Narco News. And he has been warned, and I have been warned, and others have been warned. I traveled that border down there and watched the weapons go across. They come from our arsenals, not from gun shops. It's impossible to get an anti-aircraft gun across the border in the back of a pickup truck. If you tell me how you can do that, boy, I can make millions and millions of dollars transporting weapons to Mexico. So how does an anti-aircraft weapon, 3 of them, get into a warehouse in Mexico that have U.S. markings on them? I ask questions to the Senate of the United States. I get a form for a campaign contribution. We ask a question. We asked 11 questions of Benghazi, and what did we get in return from not one senator and not one congressman? We got a form letter back asking us for campaign contributions. They didn't answer the questions. They didn't address the questions. And we did it 4 separate times from 4 separate sources about the Benghazi questions. The 11 questions is posted on this radio station that we're on right now that the people can read. As you read these questions, ask, why in the hell haven't they been answered? Can you help me there? I mean, you know.
Well, the one question you don't have on there, the one question you haven't got on there that I would like an answer to, not just who gave the stand-down order and then had Ham escorted off the site and Gaudet relieved the command. But, by the way, where was the president for the missing 18 and a half hours? Not 18 and a half minutes, 18 and a half hours. Where was the commander-in-chief? Who was making these calls? Who was making these decisions? And we haven't gotten one straight answer anywhere, anybody, anytime, not a nothing, zilch.
I agree.
Start at the top and start working down.
But let me
start at the top.
Okay, right. I agree. We can have. There's a lot of things that they do that we can't account for or explain or something like that. I know that. But What are we going to do about it? I mean, you know, for instance, let's look at the 11 questions. Let's try to focus back on this Benghazi thing that got 4 people killed, including our ambassador. The ambassador was making contact on many documents that was going back to the State Department. Now, this is according to NATO. These guys went over, assigned to NATO, and then they, whatever. And then what they found out about these weapons appalled a couple of them. And the same thing was going on in Mexico. So there's a system out there. And it's run through the direct commercial sales, and those weapons come from our stockpile to Mexico, but to all the other places. It's a money deal, a cash cow. What happens? I had to ask question number 4. I've asked, what happens to those weapons after legally being sold via this program and they leave our control? What happens to them? Now, the only reason that I asked these 11 questions was to get an answer on record, because I knew someday that answer would turn out to be a lie. They won't answer because they have to lie. So they're going to get caught in a lie if they answer these 11 questions. So I demand from my elected officials, answer the damn questions. These questions are very simple. They're questions that any individual American citizen would ask. For instance, number 1, is the United States secretly arming and supporting various factions of the Syrian rebels with high-caliber impact weapons from the United States arsenals? What is so complicated about that question? Could that question be simply answered yes or no? Answer it yes or no, because then it becomes on the record. And then if we find out later that you lied, then we can go after you. And we can go after your seat in the Congress or the Senate or whoever the hell lied to us. Let's ask another question. Number 2, is the United States little-known direct commercial sales program, also known as the Blue Lantern Report, being used as a cutout to secretly aid both sides of the Middle Eastern Civil War? Yes or no? Put it on the record. Answer the damn question. Now, they've refused, and these questions were first put to them in September. Now, let's go down to number 3. Is America again playing both sides against the middle for corporate gain, as previously demonstrated by the Cuban project of the 50s and the 60s, as well as the Iran-Contra fiasco of the 80s and the South American-Mexican drug wars of the 90s? That's a big mouthful of stuff, but answer the question. You see where I'm going with this?
Well, and again, you know, because you've been around long enough to remember, the best enemy money can buy. Why? Because you keep building them up, so you got a reason to fight them back.
Well, okay, my next question. Do you mind me asking these questions? Because we have a listening audience out there, and some people don't know how to read, or if they do know how to read, they can't read. The retention span is AD, attention deficit. Because we sure as hell don't seem to remember much about what the hell's going on, except what someone does with your PPE. I have to ask, what happens to those weapons after legally being sold by this program and after they leave our control? What happens to them? Where do they go? Will our troops one day face these American-made weapons on some foreign battlefield? Yes, they've already had, and a lot of our American troops have been killed by our own weapons, and that's documented. And it wasn't friendly fire either. Is the direct commercial sales program a secret cash cow for many U.S. corporations, international arms merchants, its insiders, or its affiliates? Now, will the Department of Justice answer that question for me? You see what I'm trying to do here? I'm trying to pump direct questions to these officials. I can sit here and answer these questions, but that's not going to do me any good. I'm not an elected official. These people that are supposed to be monitoring these programs have let me down, and they've got my friends killed. And they put my young people on battlefields so that they can gain profit from weapons sold to both sides that kills our troops. That's a pretty heavy accusation, and I think I can damn well back it up. So come on after me if you want to, because I've got something to say to a Senate investigative committee, and if they do subpoena me, these questions are going to be answered. Does that make sense? I'm getting a little too serious here, I understand. But it's time to stop this corruption. It's time to stop this crap. So the question is, everybody knows that this crap's going on. The question is, how are we going to stop it? We need to start defining solutions rather than defining the problem. That's all I'm saying. If you can define the problem in one sentence, you got 90% of the solution. So, what is our problem? In one simple sentence, then we've got a solution. We've got something to work for. As American citizens, we can all bind together and force our elected officials to address these questions and actually force our elected officials to start working for us rather than special interest and international arms merchants. That's my opinion.
You know, see, this is about not going after the spider web. This is about going after the spider.
That's exactly right. Go for the nut. Yep.
Gosh, I appreciate what you're doing. I don't know, you know, if we're just talking to ourselves or if we're actually making any impact with anybody. You know, we're in a captured operation. We got a captured operation here.
What you just said, I don't know if I'm doing the right thing. I know, but all I know within my heart and within my God-given right, I can't put it down. I'm 76 years old. I've had over 50 years in and out of this shit. Sometimes going on the farm, staying on the farm for years and years, going flat broke, I've been audited and attacked, a 10-year deal with the IRS. I mean, I've had retaliation everywhere. Finally, I got to the point, no more retaliation. I'm tired of this crap. What are you going to do to me? Eat me? Come on, I'm 76 years old, and I've played in this damn ballpark, this crazy, polluted ballpark, and I've watched our political system go to hell because of apathy and laziness of the very people that elected them. And I don't even think these people were ever elected, my own opinion. This is, we've been manipulated. But anyway, that's going to get off.
Well, but Tosh, you know what? You nailed something here that I think we need to address also for some of the audience. You've been in those places, in those countries, and what do they always do when they want to start a revolution? What do they always start with the young people? They always put those guns, those arms in the hands of kids because they don't know any better. They're too young. And even when I say kids, you know, even these guys 25, 30 years old, they aren't long enough in the tooth to have seen what we've seen. And what the problem is, we got a bunch of people like these guys out here. Well, go ahead. I'm sorry.
Okay, let me interject something and keep your thought. You know, I don't want to, talking about young kids having guns. I was in Colombia. This was back in Escobar's day, before Escobar got killed in Ochoa, back in those days. I had a 16-year-old kid come up with an American-made 16 with a full clip and shoved it up my butt and laughed. Now, how's that? That kid wasn't, he couldn't have been 10 years old. Where did he get that M16? Any questions?
Mm-hmm. Well, go back and look at Parkometer there in Arkansas.
Well, go back and look at the FARC when they cover these weapons. They're American-made weapons. Where do they come from? I mean, we sit here and talk about these other foreign countries doing this and doing that and going across borders and starting shit and all that. Take a hard look at the weapons in their hands when they cross that border to start crap. What do they carry? I don't see that many AK-47s. I see a lot of other stuff. I see some RPGs. I see some hand grenades. I see some things that were taken off the GAO books when the maneuvers were held in Honduras back in the 80s, that the weapons were put on the books as being destroyed in airdrops and then taken off the books because they were destroyed, but they were good weapons that were taken by C-130s and taken to an island off Panama before they were taken to a place called El Toro, Marine Naval Air Station, and eventually went to China Lakes to be retrofitted and turned around and sent back down south in order for the Contra to be able to use. Now, there's a lineage that's documented, and the Senate absolutely had that information from Senator Hart and his security advisor, Bill Holden, and as the letter states, Senator Hart wrote, Senate Foreign Relations Committee and the Senate Intelligence Committee refused to look at the documentation. So, what does that tell you? The gun running operation that was almost exposed at that time, it was stopped by the Senate of the United States and the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. Senator Gary Hart's election was sabotaged because of what you and I are talking about right now.
That's exactly right. He was sabotaged because he might have done something.
He was going to do something. I know the man. He's a friend. He doesn't talk to me anymore because he doesn't want to be involved in this shit, and I don't blame him. But just recently I went on camera out in California, and this is all going to come out. Now, I don't know what to say, and I'm not talking for the senator, but I certainly understand why Senator Hart and other people want absolutely nothing to do anymore. There's a good CID investigator friend of mine by the name of Gene Wheaton. He doesn't want to even mess with it. He won't even talk about this stuff anymore because he says absolutely nothing is going to be done about it except you're going to get your ass in trouble. Well, he's right. So, people are put on ice. And now there's a Marine Colonel, Colonel James Sabot. He was committed suicide, right? Shot himself in the mouth with a shotgun. Forensics proves otherwise, but yet it was labeled as a suicide. What did he find out? Found out about what we're talking about. Well, the thing is, he didn't go public soon enough, because if he'd went public a little sooner, he wouldn't be dead today. So the only reason that I'm coming out here and talking to everybody is mainly to protect my butt, because the light of sunshine protects me. And I tell all my colleagues, all my friends, you better get it on record out there public some way, because mainstream media is not going to touch your story, because they're already controlled. So I'm bringing the dogs of war on me. There's no doubt about that. I knew this before I went on these broadcasts. But truth is truth. By golly, by the Spirit of the good Lord that lays within me and been my co-pilot all my damn life, it is my responsibility to say and let it go where it's got to go. If it caused me bodily harm, so be it. By golly, it's the truth. And I'm going to stand behind it, and I'm going to bust my balls, make sure that those cronies sitting up there in D.C. take a big-ass fall, and real soon. So if I can do that, I'm going to do that. I'm sending a message. I'm not talking to the audience right now. I'm talking to that SOB out there that's got a little tape recorder going right now and taping every damn thing I say. Yes, that's a threat to you. You threaten me, I'm threatening you back out there. You understand what I'm saying to you out there, sir?
I sure do. And you know what? Doug did an article today for Canada Free Press, and it's an important article. And what he said is it's this moment right now is about picking a side. People aren't going to be able to ride the fence much longer. They're going to have to pick a side. Right or wrong? You're going to be with these lying pieces of shit that are covering for crimes against humanity, crimes against our citizenry here, and crimes against citizenry in other countries. You're going to protect those people, or are you going to stop them? Which side are you going to be on? Because you can't ride the fence much longer.
What you're saying is absolutely true. Now, what we need to do, what you and I both and anybody else out there need to do, is get a program together or something, get a collective body to do nothing except pull the documentation, go research and pull the facts together so that we can all go to Washington and say, here's the facts. We caught you. Caught you in your lies, caught you in your dealings, we caught you in your money, we got your receipts, we found out where you get your campaign contributions. We understand by I got one question. How come the direct commercial sales program has not been monitored in the last 3 years? And it's the Congressional Committee is supposed to monitor that. That's their job. And what that is weapons are sold to private companies from foreign interests. In other words, for instance, you and I wanted to buy guns from the government. All we got to do is set up a company, fill out the State Department form, get it approved, and if you have a lobbyist working for you, you have no problem getting that approved. So we become a company, you and I, and then we can buy all the guns we want from foreign countries and ship them wherever we want without being monitored. How's that for a inside deal? Now, if somebody says, Tosh, you're full of crap, that doesn't happen, go check it out. Go on the Internet, look up direct commercial sales. Go up, look Blue Lantern Report. Go in and pull the countries and look how many weapons, dollar amounts, $16 billion here, $18 billion here, $220 billion here, all within a 3-year period. Don't believe Tosh Plumlee. Get off your butts, go out there and plug it in and check it out yourself. And then it's going to piss you off. Guaranteed to piss you off. I can't piss you off. You can't piss them off. Get the American people off their butts and do some damn research, and then let's go down and shut this down, the arrogant son of a bitches down. I'm sorry, I don't like to cuss, but and I'm going to settle down from my partner.
Here over what we're talking about right now, and they'll be whining and moaning. Oh yeah, we got to deal with this. We're really going to look into it, and we'll see some big old crocodile tears that'll be meaningless. They need their estrogen spot for the day.
Let me tell you who Tosh Plumlee is. Tosh Plumlee is a no-good. He's a fabricator. He's a hot check writer. He's a liar. He wants publicity. He's drumming up publicity for his book. You can't believe a damn thing he says. I know everything that's out there on that Internet. I know who put him out there. Let me tell you a real fast story here. I got an email here, and I think I put it on my Facebook page. It was a young gentleman that led a very bad life. Then he went to work for somebody, got a job in government. His job was to go out and get $20 a whack, character assassinating various people that he was assigned on the Internet, and he worked for a company out of D.C., and I think you know who I'm talking about, that employed over 150 people to do exactly that. This man suddenly found Jesus Christ, and it was in his heart that he had to repent. And one of the things that came to him in the middle of the night was to apologize to Tosh Plumlee because he went on a couple of forums and followed me in my postings, and his job was to de-choose my postings by saying certain things like, I am a CIA Forrest Gump. I've been everywhere. But my God, I'm 76 years old, and I've been connected in one way or the other for 55 years. I mean, not consistent. But when I needed money and I needed a flying job, I had the contacts, and I could call. And I've been to down a hell of a lot of foreign countries, doing a hell of a lot of illegal things in behalf of the national security or whatever you want to call it. But, however, these individuals were paid to go out and character assassinate anybody that was bringing up something that could be investigated that would lead back to methods and procedures that the CIA was using in order to carry out an illegal operation. Now, can I say it any more clearer than that?
There you go.
Anybody out there?
Yeah,
wow.
No, that's true.
If I run my audience off with my rant?
Well, I mean, I hope that people understand we're frustrated too, because
well, you can get frustrated.
We have constraints. We have constraints that we're trying to stay on the straight and narrow, and not out guys that are doing real work in really critical national security situations. And yet, we also understand that mischief is being done under the guise of legal, and the oversight is non-existent.
No, it's been can't say anything. It's been bought off. There's gatekeepers within gatekeepers.
Captured operations. Right up to the White House.
My partner for 12 years works in government, and one of her complaints is the fact that she can't get anything done because of the internal gatekeepers. Whatever. I don't want to go there, but
well, the problem, Tosh, is that you and I are probably going to get the whole Internet shut down planet-wide because of our conversation right now, because that's exactly what they're going to sit out there in Washington in the morning and have a discussion about the unregulated, uncontrolled,
I've already been told,
Internet, and we're going to be shut the whole thing down because of you and I.
I've already been told not to go on Alex Joe's show earlier today, so I went on it. I was also told that it would probably be best, by my attorney, it'd probably be best that I don't do these interviews. Why? What the hell have I got to be afraid of? Truth is truth. Am I a liar? Have I fabricated this? If I have fabricated this all these years and all these documents and all these articles, then I am one hell of a damn genius. Does that make sense? How could anybody possibly fabricate? If anybody has been following, not me, I don't care about me. Follow the information that's being put out there by me and others, and read it, and check it out for yourself, and research it yourself. The young people in this country that are looking for something to do, check out what Tosh Plumlee and what you say and what others say. Verify it, and then do something about it, rather than sit and bellyache and say, did you know this? This is what they do. You know that? That's what they did. You know this? This is what they're going to do. Did you know a friend of mine said this and a guy said that? Did you hear what he said the other day? What I want to hear is, what in the hell are we going to do about this? When are we going, as a collective body of American citizens, going to stand up and unite and go out there and demand justice from these people that we allegedly have put in office? Some of these people that have been appointed to these positions are not even qualified for these positions that they hold. And if you notice, these positions that they hold are very strategic positions. Strategic. That could violate our national security.
You put lawyers in charge of running an agency of people that are doing very technical covert operations. I mean, there's no history at all in the tradecraft. You want to undermine decades of infrastructure. Why? Because you want a politician, because you want somebody that's going to politicize those positions.
Well, it's the whole thing is getting politicized.
Yeah.
That's why I said at the beginning of this, I didn't really want to get into a political debate about who's right and who's wrong and so on like that. But the political aspects play so heavy in this international gun running that we don't, as American citizens, don't know anything about, and most of us don't care anything about, you know. And a lot of us out there think that our elected officials are better than God. I mean, we still have that element out there. And then people like me that come out here and say, hey, look, man, I'm sorry. This is what I did for 50 years. I apologize to you, but by golly, I'm not going to take it in the shorts by sitting down and keeping my mouth shut. When this thing is unfolding and they're looking for scapegoats, I am not going to be one of their scapegoats. I was a drug runner, and I brought cocaine into this country, and I took guns out of this country on a sanctioned U.S. government operation through 3-4 presidencies. Now, that's what I say, and that's what I'll say to the Senate of the United States. And that's what I'll say to the CIA, and I've already said it. So if they want to come gunning for me, bring on their best people. I'll fight them with the pen and not the sword. I'll fight them with the pen and I'll fight them with truth. Now, if they want to take me out after what I put out there, then, okay, let them take me out. Big deal. A lot of my friends have been taken out. A lot of guys on the battlefield have been taken out because of our crooked politics and our gun running. And look at the people killed in Mexico that we don't even report in our mainstream media. We don't even report that stuff. And those are our American weapons. And let me tell you one other thing, as long as I'm ranting about this. And I want my listeners, I want your listeners out there to listen to this. What the hell happened to Carl Quintero? Where is he? Why haven't we filed extradition on him? He was the biggest drug runner down in southern Mexico, and also was responsible for getting a DEA agent killed, Kiki Camarena.
That's
now,
right.
Where in the hell is he today? Where is he today? We just captured Joaquin Guzman. Where? Chapo. Shorty. Where the hell is he today? Why haven't we filed extradition charges on him? Why hasn't Holder demanded that Mexico turn those two drug runners over to us? I'll tell you why, and I'll tell your listeners why now. Both those people received CIA money to use their facilities, and we funded the Zeta. The United States money, your tax dollars, went into the coffers to fund guns and ammunition for the Zeta to keep a cartel war going, and also to use a secret base in Veracruz of Carl Quintero's and paid him $10,000 a month to refuel our C-130 so we could get into the southern front. That man, those two men have more secrets about what they were paid by this government, and that is why they're either dead or will be dead, or we will will not touch them because they have too many secrets on the CIA. Now, therefore, I have said it, and I'll say it again. So,
well, and Camarena did not die a pretty death. He died a horrible death.
Nobody knows about that. Mainstream media doesn't cover stuff like that. Oh, it's too horrible to cover. The man was tortured, because he...
Horribly tortured.
Everybody said it was because of the Buffalo Ranch and the $6 billion marijuana thing that he uncovered. Bull crap. He uncovered a lot more than that. And he uncovered the Carl Quintero situation, and that got him killed. And I met with Kiki. I met him at Oaxaca. This is on the record with other DEA agents. This has been vetted. I mean, this is sources, creditable sources. 50-year decorated DEA agents have said the same thing. And the very DEA agent that carried on the Kiki Camarena deal confirmed everything that I just told you about Carl Quintero and Joaquin Guzman and that clan down there, plus others, the Bellevue train in the Gulf Coast. Same situation. Read the articles. Go in and look up narco news and go in there and look up boots on the ground and get the whole history about the arms that were stashed in the warehouse there and where they came from and about the task force and what they were trying to do down there. This is something that mainstream media will not cover, has not covered, and will not even cover because they're controlled by powers.
But, you know, Tosh, the other concern I have is this. People will pay attention when this really comes across the border to the U.S. in droves. We know about what was done with the Mexican connection and the terrorists trying to hit the Saudis. We know what was done with the militarization of our police forces. Part of the reason for that is because they plan on moving those guns to bring them back on us here. This is going to get personal. That's why right now we have a moment to try to force the hand of these politicians and the mainstream media to cover this and give real answers and answer FOIAs and give that paperwork out without all the redactions and find out who is behind and authorizing and making this happen. This isn't happening by accident. This is planned. This is intentional. And it's coming home here to roost shortly, unless we can get a hold of this and try to redirect this and get Congress to do their job. This is while they're fiddling away, Rome is about to get the torch to it here, and these people are right behind it. They cannot act as though this is happening without their knowledge or understanding, or they didn't realize what was going to happen. They're working on protecting us. These actions aren't about protecting American citizens.
Okay, all right. What you got to do is we've got to get the confirmation. We got to go out here and hound and demand that they give us confirmation. You're talking about FOIA. I mean, that's so damn controlled, you ain't going to get crap. I mean, you just got a whole bunch of documents that were just released day before yesterday about this Benghazi thing that proves that they lied. If they lied about that, they lie about everything. In other words, I'm going to be called a liar. Jeez, it's documented, you know, but once the negative aspect is said, what's those saying, you can't prove a negative, but once the negative is laid upon you, we Americans have a way of believing only the negative because we like that. I mean, we like that thrill. We like that excitement. Oh, wow, man. You know, anyway, we're a sick, we as a nation are now a sick puppy, in my opinion. Whatever that
well, I just, to me, the problem is that most of the country doesn't know how to respond, but half the time it's as simple as not allowing us to be intimidated, even by neighbors, coworkers, friends, relatives, not to talk about this stuff. You know, because it's not, well, you don't know what you're talking about. Well,
respond. Problem is getting people to respond. Problem is this, too. A good percentage of people are feared. They're afraid to respond. I have friends that will not talk to me except in a very innuendo, out-of-the-way, hands-off approach, because they do not want to be splattered with the flack that I'm creating. They do not want to be associated with Robert Tosh Plumlee, and I'm including family members in this, because they don't want their emails checked. They don't want this. They don't want their security violated. They don't want to create any waves. I'm crazy for going out here and starting a bunch of shit. They're going to kill you, Tosh. Why don't you just shut up and just live your life and go into old age and be nice and, and so on like that. And then I can't do that. I got to see what's going on. And as we lose our freedoms one by one, and so my question, where do we combine and get a consistent program set up to challenge these people and force them to answer the questions that we Americans ask? How can we get these people to do their jobs for the American people and not for the special interest lobbyists that they're indebted to? Simple as that. So my consensus is this. We've got some damn good people in the Congress. We've got some damn good people in the Senate. But they themselves can't get past the gatekeepers. And some of these gatekeepers will hold these positions, 50 years or so? My God, too old to even walk or whatever. I mean, come on, multiple billionaires that didn't have a pot to piss in when they got in office, but yet now, after a few years, are multiple billionaires. What does that tell you? Check the money, follow the money, see where it leads you. I think the American people, especially this younger generation, would be astonished when they can't find a job, and they can't pay their student loans, and they find out all these kickbacks are going into campaign contributions. In my opinion, I think it's time to throw all of them out. Throw the good out, the babies out with the bathwater, start all over, and get people in there that's dedicated to this country and this freedom and holds the honor of those that have sacrificed their lives in order to keep us free. It really ticks me off when I think about all the young people, the fruit of our nation, slaughtered because of some politician or president wants to start some war and send all our money overseas so that they can get kickbacks for their copper. What the hell is wrong with this picture? And when in the hell is the American people going to wake up? I just don't understand it. Am I wrong?
Not at all.
Questions we've been asking for quite a long time.
Exactly.
So what do we do about it? What do we do about it, guys?
Well, if I may,
you got a radio program here, and I thank you very much for allowing me on. I wasn't going to do this. You got me started. Now you got to shut me up.
No intent on doing that. Not at all. Now, W, is there anything we haven't covered here yet?
I think I'm done. I've ranted enough. I appreciate you letting me come in there.
I hope I didn't interrupt you so much. No.
We had a good exchange. Gosh, I'll look forward to having
She's sitting here.
I'll look forward to having a julep with you next time I'm south. We'll cross paths.
All right, W. We're gonna cut you loose, my friend W, because of we've got a heck of an echo going on here, and
well, we got 30 agencies. We got 30 agencies listening in on the conversation. That's why. So thanks, guys. Thanks, Scott, for taking a minute with us.
Okay, thanks, W. Take care of yourself, buddy. Be safe.
All right.
Wow.
Well, did we do anything right or not? Are we still on air?
We certainly are.
Yes, we are.
Okay. We sort of drifted off Benghazi a little bit, but I hope, if we have any listeners left after my rants. But anyway.
Well, we do have Tosh, are you on the speakerphone by chance?
Yeah, I'm in my car because I got this other little. Why, is that the echo you're getting?
I think so. If you can switch to a headset.
Well, let me see
or
if I
just
can
take it off speaker.
Well, I can't really take it off speaker. Hold on, I'll see
Okay.
if I can shut her off this way. I may lose you.
No, I don't want to do that. We'll be all right.
Is it better
Joe,
now?
you've got a listener.
Hey, look, actually, you're going to have some jamming going on this. It's about time they catch up with us. No doubt about that. Probably getting a real squeak or something. I don't know what I can do on this end.
Well, let's just, we'll
work with it.
Let me try it this way. Are you there?
Yeah,
Yep.
we're here. And it sounds like the echo's gone. No.
All right. Let's try it this way for a while, okay? All right, okay. Is the echo gone?
Well, let's see.
Oh, see.
No.
That's all right.
I've had this problem after about an hour or so. Crazy things happen on this cell phone. I'm trying to talk to you on the cell phone now. I'm off the mobile. Is your echo still there?
Well, let's see.
It
Testing.
seems like only when we talk.
Yeah. All right.
Okay.
Joe's
Well,
got
I
a
don't
listener
know what
question.
else we got to talk about. I mean, I think you really got my feelings on everything, and I also got an idea of what I'm trying to do. I mean, I'm not trying to be a rebel rouser. I'm just trying to get people to think and do something. And then here's the other reason. I need people to get out there and do something to protect people like me and W and others out there that are trying to do something to protect our Constitution and our rights. I'm not a radical. I'm not trying to be. I'm an American citizen, and I want my country back. And I don't know how to get it back unless doing what I'm doing. And I don't want to put 50 years of my life and throw it all away because the 50 years that I've been involved in this crazy black ops crap has been done, in my opinion, to protect the Constitution and to protect our freedoms. Whether people agree with that or not, I don't know, and I'm not responsible for that. My viewpoint, my motivation is to protect my country. I took the oath. I still stand behind the oath. I'm not engaged in the military stuff right now, and I'm not engaged in working for the government, but I still honor my oath. And I do not like what I see that's tarnishing that oath out of the White House and the appointees that this administration has appointed. The DOJ is going to come down hard on me. I know that, and it's going to be manipulated. And it's just about time for me to become what they call a character assassinated. I'm no good, I'm this, I'm that, I'm blah, 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 and they're going to see all kinds of stuff. So there's going to be more trolls paid out there to go out and character assassinate people that are trying to bring this type of information to the American people. I'm not a hero, I'm not anything, I'm just an American citizen that is fed up with the crap that is coming out of Washington, D.C. That's all it is. I'm just an American citizen. I'm a little old 76-year-old man that is really pissed off about what they're doing to my country. Now, I can't say it any plainer than that. That's the reason I'm talking to you. That's the reason I went out here. That's the reason I went back and researched and documented and vetted and got the sources and logged the sources and pulled it all together and opened up a Facebook page to advise the people because mainstream media is controlled. We're not seeing these things. We're going through a series of diversions. That's all it is, a diversion. Media is a diversion. We're talking now about a guy and his racial crap for days and days. 6 weeks going by about an airplane that got lost. I'm sorry the plane got lost. I mean, I'm sure, but they'll pay $5,000 for a guy to go on and speculate what the hell happened because he's an airline pilot. Big deal. That's a diversion to keep us away from what they are doing in Washington, D.C. today, through the Senate and through the Congress and through POTUS. And I'll say it. Now, they want to come after me? Come on after me. I haven't done anything today. I'm not rebel-rousing. I'm not going against the Constitution. I haven't violated any laws talking on the radio to you. Have I? In your opinion, have I violated any laws today?
Not one.
Not one. All right. So I'll stand behind what I say and let them come on after me. All right. Can you give me a transcript of this interview? A transcript or a copy of the interview? Because I may take it back to Washington and let them play it.
Yes, we can arrange that, and I'm sure that Eric Holder and Senator Harry Reid and others will have this on their MP3 players.
Yeah, well, they're going to think that I'm not big enough to stand up to them. I mean, maybe I'm not. I mean, they can bury me like a damned ant. But at least they buried me like a damned ant. I went down to a good cause. So that's the way I look at it. So they can take a southern, kick their butts with it, as far as I'm concerned.
Mr. Plumley, we have one friend of the show, a listener question, if we can.
Sure.
A gentleman from Philly, a friend named Vernon. Vernon, you're live on the Hagmann and Hagmann report. What's your question for Mr. Plumley?
First of all, Dr. Jones, thank you very much for getting me in here. Number one, you have an explosive show today. And Mr. Plumley, I truly appreciate you, sir. And W, if you're still listening as well. I'm getting a major echo here too, but I'm gonna try to get through this as quick as possible. I'm ex-military as well, Vietnam era. I'm one of the babies of Vietnam, though. And everything that you were saying has been the case in terms of the lies, the deception, the corruption, and the drug dealing, and the gun running. I could only imagine it's been before Vietnam. I could only speak of Vietnam on the current time when we talk about Marcos and Noriega and other names that named on the program today. The main thing that you're asking is what can we do today? And that's a good question because here it is when we said SOPA, people, ACTA, the people stood out and they got a hold of their congressmen, their senators, and it's completely other taken on board. It has been put on the back burner as far as the bills are concerned. But when we talk about laws, presidential executive orders that undermine and utterly destroy the Constitution of the United States, everybody sits back and goes, you know. Let me ask you one question, and I don't know if this is possible or not, but rallying the sheriffs, the top sheriffs of this nation, and along with military, what you call not the National Guard, but the Ministry or the I can't think right now. But isn't there a way that they can go in with the backing, even of a small backing of the American people, and serve notice?
Again, you just cut out.
Oh, I had that question. Isn't it possible for the top sheriffs of the nation, along with the militia? And
okay, let me interrupt. Let me interrupt you here. If I get the drift here, you're asking if we can get like law enforcement agencies combined together to come in and devise a program that we can launch to get these people exposed and to get the others to work for us? Is that something along what you're asking?
Not the entire law enforcement agency, because we know that is corrupt as well. But you do have these top sheriffs, Sheriff Matt.
Oh yeah, you're right.
Pyro. You know, why can't we get all these sheriffs together along with the militia and along with the American people? Sir, there's many organizations out there of law enforcement that have sprung off, and they are asking other law enforcement to combine with them to address the problems that we've been discussing tonight. So there are good law enforcement out there that sees the problem that we're facing, and they have to face it every day of their life when you put them up against these guns, and stuff like that. I'm not taking gun rights and saying blah, 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 and all those issues. But there are organizations, and those guys take a lot of risk, too, because they are current law enforcement. And their supervisors sometimes do not like them getting involved in taking issues about what can we do to save our country. So, but however,
a lot of law enforcement, federal and state and municipalities, feel the same way we do. We're losing our countries. I talk to them every day. I talk to Border Patrol. I talk to Homeland Security people. Their hands are tied. They're even to the point to where some of them are afraid to talk openly because they're afraid they're going to lose their position or they're going to be chastised by their supervisor. In other words, we are living in a controlled state. Law enforcement has the same problems of infiltration, of special interests, controlling them. That's why some of the officers of the law have formed these committees that I just told you about. So, if we could get all of them together, if we get all the American people together to research and find these things out, that would be a start. And then combine together and present them to the Senate, to the Congress, and demand that they investigate and bring those people that are responsible to proper justice. That means impeachment is necessary. And I'll say that. Impeachment is necessary.
Mm-hmm.
Impeachment from the president, and if you want to call it impeachment, go right on down through the Senate and the Congress. Take every one of them, one by one, and scalp them, bring them to their knees. The American people can do that. We have a history of winning. World War II, where's that spirit we had in World War II, where we could fight 2 wars? And we didn't have computers in those days. We had a pencil and a paper and a slide rule. What did we do? What did we do then? We won 2 wars, 2 world wars on 2 continents, and we did it in 4 years. Hell, we can't even get a health program started in 5 years.
Right.
So and we've got all this electronic stuff that's supposed to help us save time and be creative. So where in the hell is the American people to put this thing in proper perspective? So I'm asking questions. I didn't mean to go on a rant and a tangent about all this, but these are simple questions.
Yeah, but no, you're 100% correct, because the American people, they have their heads stuck in the, as my pastor would call it, the one-eyed demon of the TV, and all these job programs that are out here. They're not paying no attention. Just like I heard you talking about your kids, they don't want to hear this. They label you a nut. I'm going through the same thing, well, why are you listening to that? There ain't nothing I can do about it. And before I can get 2 words out my mouth, they have formed their opinion. And it's just no talking.
That's it. So we got a lot of problems. I mean, so then they form organizations. Mm-hmm. And then you have infiltration in the organization. Then you've got this, and then you become radical, and you become this, and you become that. And then you get labeled. And my gosh, you've been through the drill. I've been through the drill.
Okay.
So you got to overcome that.
Right. With that said, let me just put one suggestion, Doug and Joe. If you will, please give Mr. Plumlee my information. Joe, you have that. And I would love to be able to talk with you. I have a 500-seat conference center, full conference center, where I would like to get everybody in. If you have documentation, we can record it and put it out there as well as a visual thing. Aside from that,
good idea.
Everyone,
very good idea.
Okay.
Become a clearinghouse.
Sir?
I say become a clearinghouse.
Exactly.
Have the American people get out and investigate this and bring all their fact finding, not their complaints, not their stating, oh, they did this, they did that, something like that. No, get the facts. Bring the facts to one certain place. Get it all down, organized, and then present it to the people.
Right. That's why I'd like to see your conversation.
That's a start.
And let people see what you're talking about. And everybody that's in this room right now that have a website like I do, tomorrow morning when I wake up, the conversation is going to be on my website. This program is going to be on my website. Every last one of them that have a website, this program tonight needs to be on your website tomorrow morning. Doug and Joe, as always, show. You have a powerful show. Again, sir, Mr. Plum, thank you very much. And I'll be
Thank you very much.
Thank you, sir. Thank you very much. Thank you very much. I appreciate talking to you, sir.
God bless.
God bless. You too, sir.
Mr. Plumley, you've been gracious with your time. Is there anything you'd like to say before we close this interview?
Oh, if I got too intense, I do apologize. My little partner here is laughing at me. She says, "Boy, I haven't seen you like that for a long time." You know, maybe I excited her a little bit, right?
We bring out the best in people.
Little mountain joke there.
We do want to say thank you so much.
If you can't have fun with yourself, who in the heck are you going to have fun with? Okay?
Exactly. Mr. Plumley, you've been a gracious guest. Thank you so much.
It's been an honor to be on these programs, sir.
Well, God bless, and we will talk again.
All right. Guys, be safe.
All right. Folks, that was Mr. Robert Tosh Plumley. And we apologize for the echo. We apologize for the sound quality. You know that, well, maybe it might be a good time to start a legal defense fund. What do you think? Yeah, I believe, ladies and gentlemen, and I don't know, but I do suspect that we made radio history tonight. That's my view. What you heard was a whole lot of history and a whole lot of information. Passion. Oh, yeah, we do apologize, for the salty language, but you've got to get past that and to look at the passion for truth. Look what's going on with our country. Here's a man, 76 years old, been with the CIA essentially for 55 years. Another man, intelligence agency operative. Did you feel like at any given time that you were sitting in a bar listening to two intel people talking? Wow. Folks, we're going to take a break while we adjust our audio equipment. Various agencies off of our line. You're listening to a very special Wednesday edition of the Hagmann and Hagmann Report. I want to thank you so much.
Hagmann Report on this April 30th, 2014, the last day of April. Sticking with the topic on Benghazi, a write-up in the Daily Caller from Neil Monroe says it best. Benghazi email isn't about Benghazi, says Carney. Let's take a listen to an exchange between Jay Carney and John Carl, Jay Carney being the press secretary, and John Carl asking the questions about the release of the emails that have come out that link the White House to the Benghazi attack and cover-up.
The right thing. John.
Yeah, to follow up on the new Benghazi email, you knew full well that these Sunday show appearances were going to be dominated by the attack in Benghazi, right, as they were?
We certainly knew that would be a big part of the shows.
Or the primary thrust of those shows.
John,
you just had an attack on a U.S. consulate in Benghazi. You had Americans killed. You knew full well that what Susan Rice was primarily going to be asked about was about that attack, a terrorist attack on a U.S. consulate in Benghazi.
Can I read the promo from your show, ABC This Week?
All the promos you want.
John,
you don't acknowledge that these was going to be about the Benghazi attack?
John, absolutely. And that's why, as members of Congress did, Ambassador Rice relied on points about the Benghazi attack that were produced by the CIA. Hold on. As American embassies throughout the region remain under fire, that's ABC This Week promo. Again, we prepare Q&As for administration officials based on what we think they're going to be asked. When I come out here, hold on, John, let me finish my sentence at least. When I come out here, when officials go out on daily shows or the Sunday shows, we have to anticipate what they're going to be asked. It is often forgotten that during that time period, there was an enormous amount of attention and focus, appropriately, on the fact that there were protesters, sometimes violent protesters, surrounding U.S. embassies, causing us to draw down personnel at those embassies, causing great concern, understandably, about the safety of American personnel at other diplomatic facilities around the Muslim world. And that was a focus of a great deal of press attention, and thus would be, as the promos indicate, one of the areas of focus of those Sunday shows. And so a Q&A was prepared for that, as is the case every Sunday. What was also the case is that Ambassador Rice was, on the matter of Benghazi, relying on talking points that were originally created for members of Congress at the request of members of Congress so that they could go on television and talk about what happened in Benghazi.
Ambassador Rice went on those shows and she said that the attack in Benghazi was rooted in protests over an internet video. We now know that that was not true, that in fact the CIA director, former director Morell, just testified last month that, quote, when she talked about the video, my reaction was, that's not something the analysts have attributed this attack to. It did not come from the CIA. You stood there at the podium time after time and said that she was referring to talking points created by the CIA. Now we see a document that comes from the White House, not from the CIA, attributing the protests to the video. And we have the former director of the CIA saying that that was not something that his analysts had attributed to.
John, I would point you to what Mike Morell has said repeatedly in testimony about the creation of the talking points.
Well, now we have new talking
Let me
points,
finish,
though,
please.
You didn't release.
John, I answered that question. The fact of the matter is, there were protests in the region. The talking points cited protests at that facility. The connection between protests and video, and the video turned out not to be the case, but it was based on the best information that we had, and the fact that there were protests.
It's not based on what the CIA was saying,
John,
Jay.
I would point you to. I understand
This is what Morell said just last month. That when he heard that, he said that is not something our analysts have said. But that now we see came from the White House. Right?
John, no, you're wrong. If you look at that document that we're talking about today was about the overall environment in the Muslim world. The protests outside of Khartoum, the embassy in Khartoum, outside of the embassy in Tunis, the protests outside of the embassy in Cairo. These were big stories. This was a big problem, and this was an ongoing story through that weekend when Ambassador Rice appeared on the Sunday show. So to suggest that we wouldn't have answers to questions about those situations, and unless you're telling me now that those protests didn't have anything to do with the video, it was entirely appropriate to have a question and answer document prepared for the video. When it comes to, John, let me finish.
Did the show say that the attack at Benghazi was rooted in a protest over the video? That's what she said.
I know that you and I are both in a different time zone right now, but we're still in April of 2014, and this is a discussion about what she said and what turned out to be the case that we have had dozens of times in this room. And the fact of the matter is, she went out there with the best information that we had at the time. The CIA deputy director has testified to that. The fact that there were protests around the region threatening our embassies at the very same time is something that is often forgotten, but obviously affected the whole environment about how we perceived what was happening at the time. And again, the implication is that we were somehow holding back information, when in fact we were simply saying what we thought was right. And when elements of that turned out not to be true, we were the first people to say so. It was based on what we knew at the time.
Why were you holding back this information? Why was this email not turned over to the Congress? Why was it not released when you released all the other emails? This is directly relevant. Why did you hold it back?
John, again.
Why did it take a court case for you to release this email?
John, I can say it again and again, and I know you can keep asking again and again. This document was not about Benghazi.
It was her prep for the Sunday show.
It wasn't her only prep, John. She relied on for her answers on Benghazi on the document prepared by the CIA, as did members of Congress. We the White House, rather.
All right, no more running in circles. Looking at my dad, and he's bleeding from his ears. So here we have Jake Carney, after smoking gun evidence of the White House's email directly related to the cover-up of the Benghazi attacks, blaming it on a YouTube video with 10 views pretty much. and the protests spawning from that YouTube video, prepared talking points. The White House prepared talking points, handed those out to not only their ambassadors and UN diplomats, but also members of Congress for distribution and talking points on TV shows during interviews. After countless hearings and the CIA denying that they disseminated those talking points, and after a hearing for Freedom of Information comes out that links the White House directly to the talking points, you still have Jay Carney sitting here saying these talking points were not what Susan Rice was using. Those talking points were provided by the CIA. Well, talking points we provided were things you didn't hear about that other congressmen who were asked on different TV shows were talking about in general, about the sentiments and attitudes of Egypt and Yemen and protests and chaos that was happening outside of Benghazi. If that made any sense.
It did make sense because, folks, what we have here, and why Benghazi, why now? Why are we talking about this when there's so much other things going on? Because Benghazi, folks, is unraveling at a very rapid rate. This is why we had Robert Tosh Plumlee on tonight, because it's likely by the morning or at some point tomorrow, Mr. Plumlee will no longer be able to talk publicly. That's why.
I don't know if you saw Bill O'Reilly. His comments tonight are, why the media has been ignoring Benghazi, this huge important story. Shame on you, media.
Let me tell you something about Bill O'Reilly, and I'm going to flat out tell you I've got this from a first-hand source. I shouldn't say second-hand, first-hand source. Bill O'Reilly is the sole person to quash any investigative discussion, journalism, questions at Fox News about Benghazi. The fault, well, I shouldn't say fault, the reason that Benghazi was not fully investigated by Fox News was the influence exerted by Mr. Bill O'Reilly. You want to know where I got this from? I got this from a reporter at Fox News. If I said the name, you'd know exactly who this person is if you watch Fox News. This person said, we could not say word one about Benghazi. Bill O'Reilly was the person that stopped all investigative work, all research, and all discussion, to the point of even becoming angry. Now, for all you conservative right-wing rhinos out there, put that in your pipe. What do you think of Fox News now? Fair and balanced, right?
Well, they've never been fair and balanced. Sorry for the silence. CUBN, Christian United Broadcasting Network, saying they got no sound, but obviously we're still broadcasting and haven't got any complaints or gone off air. So I don't know, Troy, if you want to hang up and reconnect or what's going on, but all things are a go here.
Folks, and you have to understand. Look, the sound issue goes back to earlier too, and people are saying, well, the echo is really bad. Well, I've got to tell you something. You don't understand how we had to connect and how we had to do some workarounds just to get the actual interview to go. Okay, you're not. It's a long story, but if you could have worked through that, if you could have. And I know some people say, I just can't listen to it. Well, look, we apologize for that, but the bottom line is it was not something that we could have avoided, and we tried everything we could on our end to mitigate that, but unfortunately, it just didn't happen. And we did have a lot of interference. I noticed during the broadcast that there was quite a bit of intentional interference on this. Folks, you know the time is running out where the government agencies are trying to shut us up. And I got to tell you something else. Mr. Plumlee said, Joe, you and I talked about this a little bit as well. Did you notice how he had said that there was an individuals paid $20 for web postings? Did you catch that? To assassinate the character of Mr. Plumlee?
Yeah, I caught. I didn't catch in the context of what he was saying, but I did hear about the provocateurs or people
right.
that are marginalizing people for a living, and we know that has been admitted by some of the Obama czars. They announced, I think, what was it? It was Cass Sunstein, who in 2009 or 2010, 2011, in the earlier stages of Obama's first term, came out and said that they were going to do as much to squash the alternative media or come against the alternative media. We also have news, this is not a surprise to anybody, that there are, where it was the FCC is now standing by its new net neutrality. They're going to try to police the internet even more, and that free speech is being attacked. In the UK, we've had people who have now been arrested because of their dislike for radical jihad, and we know that people are paid. There are different organizations within the PSYOPs units of the military who are paid to cause dissent, whether in chat rooms, in call banks, in the alternative media, to comment on articles negatively. There is a whole George Soros-funded wing and probably a society dedicated to this cause alone. And we know Hillary Clinton talked about the vast right-wing conspiracy in the new Clinton files that have been released, and the author of a 334-page memo came out and said, yes, and what I said then was more true today now than ever, and they're working on the best way to mitigate that.
Well, on February 6th of 2013, February 6th of last year, folks, we talked about this on our show, but I wrote an article that appears on HomelandSecurityUS.com and CanadaFreePress.com. Now, folks, February 6th, 2013, the title, DHS Insider, Obama's Cyber Warriors in Preparing for Collapse. And this was an interview with my DHS Insider at that time, an interview which I recorded, and the actual hard copies are numerous, and they're spread about different countries as well as here. So, but the fact is, according to my insider, he observed a white 3-ring binder with Obama's circular campaign logo imprinted on the outside of the binder, with the name Cyber Warriors for Obama printed in blue across the top. Inside were the names and email addresses of 3,575 cyber assets, or warriors as they were called, listed in alphabetical order under about a dozen or so team leaders. This is in February of 2013. And apparently this information was too edgy, because when I did publish this report, there were so many people who said, oh, this is a bunch of BS. This is just a figment of Hagmann's imagination. And I don't want to get hung up on that, but the fact is, I mean, how much more specific, folks, can we possibly get? You know, I remember, in fact, one person who was making the rounds on various talk shows, supposedly on our side, said, well, if he's got the contact and he saw the binder, produce the documents, produce the binder. Are you kidding me? Really? Are you? Look, we're under attack, and the marginalization process is going strong. just understand that you're going to see. I mean, if you listen to today's program, like I said, it left me with a wonderment. My goodness, what do we do? Start a legal defense fund? I mean, if you don't think, folks, that there's not going to be ramifications, or there won't be ramifications from tonight, believe me, there will be. And I pray for Mr. Plumlee's safety, and I pray for W's safety, and I pray for the safety and security of our country and those good people working inside to expose this tyranny. This is deadly serious. I mean, this is the stuff people get killed over. I don't want to sound dramatic, but really, this is the stuff people die over or are murdered over. And I think you know that.
With the remaining 25 minutes of the show, maybe we should take phone calls and hear what the listeners have to say about the interview tonight.
Let's do it.
If you have no objections, okay, we will do that then. Let's go to the phones, and we're going to go to area code 812 first. 812, you are live on the Hagmann and Hagmann Report. What's on your mind tonight?
Seeing how I've listened to that old guy talk, and, he's lived his life and, put his life on the line telling us all this information, and I just feel like that, I think we're already falling down this rabbit hole, if you will, and, there's nothing to grab onto, and we're done. That's pretty much what I have to say.
Well, but see, caller, I believe if a 76-year-old man who's earned his stripes and his battle scars, if he's got the gumption, the guts, the integrity, the character, the strength to use his time to say, let's do something about it. What can we do about it? And whatever we can, let's do something about it. To me, I gotta say this. I believe that we are programmed to believe we cannot fight City Hall, that resistance is futile, and to listen to Mr. Plumlee, and to think the thought that resistance is futile, to me does not compute. We can fight. We have to fight. It's our duty to fight. When I say fight, I'm not talking about taking up arms. I'm talking about fighting the propaganda war that's going nuts. So we've got to fight everything we got. We can't say, well, we're too far gone, and I'm just going to wait until the very end. I mean, I know what you're saying. I feel your frustration, but I also think that we've got to make some sort of an effort.
I hear that. And one other thing, I guess basically every country in the world they're fighting right now, and I guess they're saying, they're basically saying that screw it, we're not taking it anymore, and they might have pitchforks and clubs and stuff like that, maybe a couple weapons, but they're doing it, and why aren't we?
Well, in many cases, we have the what has been seen as changes and revolutions by people has been really started by the U.S. intelligence and the government that have infiltrated these countries in order to start war. There have been some true, real revolutions for good change, and those are the ones we don't hear about.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
Well, we appreciate your call, and we're going to have to move on to another caller. God bless you, and have a great night.
Thank you. God bless you guys, too. Thank you.
All right, moving right along here, we're going to go to area code 937 next. 937, you're live on the Hagmann and Hagmann Report. 937. All right. We'll move right along here. 720. 720, we're going to come to you now. You are live on the Hagmann and Hagmann Report. What's on your mind tonight?
How's it going, guys? My name is Montegraph, and you guys covered that story a few years back dealing with the Benghazi affair. Now, as you know,
Whoa. Montegraph. Monograph.
Yes.
I want to tell you
Yes.
something flat out. Your research is absolutely right on the money, and I commend you. As an investigator of 28 years, I cannot think of a better video that you've done and a better investigation than I've seen from you, and I want to commend you for that. Go ahead, sir.
Well, I appreciate that, sir. I certainly appreciate that, but it was a team of about 5 people, and 3 of them don't want to be, named, but one of them was Aussie Battler out of Australia, and another guy was another fellow out of Ukraine, actually, that helped with pulling a lot of the metadata out of the video itself and pulling the data. I pulled the metadata myself out of the avatar from the image for NPN, which is News Politics Now number 3. Now, I just put up another video up on the Monograph channel detailing exactly what happened, in a very brief synopsis for Tom over there at Judicial Watch. Now, there's something I did want to conclude out of that, is that video, these are facts. If Tom over there at Judicial Watch or anybody else that wants to pull a subpoena from Google from the channel that is called News Politics Now 3, they are the individuals that uploaded the video called Innocence of Muslims on September the 11th at 5:42 exactly a.m. on September 11th. That would be 9 hours after the fact. In other words, 9 hours from California time to Libya, there's a 9-hour difference, which in that time would be 3 p.m., and that would be a 12-hour difference from when the initial attack happened. So that means somebody either in the administration, the CIA, or pick somebody, figured out a way to finagle a bunch of cockamamie nonsense, and it allowed that video to gain momentum because that video was mirrored from a YouTube channel out of Tunisia, and we traced all of the activity from the Tunisian YouTube channel that was pumping the story on news feeds, on blogs, on forums, on Facebook, the whole 9 yards, so that way Rice could come out on Sunday and start running her mouth and burping out that it was because of a YouTube video. I'm telling you, man, the source and the data from the thumbnail itself was pointing back to Stanley Incorporated. Stanley Incorporated is a contractor for the Department of Defense, the United States Navy, the Marines, Department of Homeland Security, Department of State, in which Hillary Clinton herself was in charge of at the time. Please check out that video on the Monograph channel. Check the links underneath. You can see unequivocally with your own eyeballs a video that was put up by Aussie Battler on the 26th of September that goes through the metadata that was captured from the avatar itself. Now, all of the metadata has been scrubbed from the web 10 days after that video dropped. Okay, the initial video that was published on the 20th of September of 2012. All of the metadata associated with the NPN avatar is gone. Now it goes to some bakery or something. It's absolutely hysterical. So I hate to run my mouth about this, but I know that Hagmann and Hagmann was the first, alternative media to pick up the video and to go through, the investigation, which I did, and came to the same conclusion. I'm done. I'm sorry.
Well, no, don't apologize. In fact, if you would not mind doing me a favor and sending me an email off of HomelandSecurityUS.com. My email address is on the left-hand side, or just click on my name and send me an email. I do have some information for you as well that I think that would be useful for you. You've done, folks. This gentleman has done, as he said, there was a team effort. He analyzed the video, Innocence of Muslims, and made some startling, based on his research, there were some startling findings from his research. We took, and it's interesting because our investigations were parallel, and we came to essentially the same conclusions. And I'll take it one step further. It is my professional analysis, and this is my words now. These are my words now. It is my professional view that the fingerprints of John O'Brennan are all over the video Innocence of Muslims, and that's back when he was the National Security Advisor for Obama, and one has to wonder how he became the head of the CIA, and if this had anything to do with it. But, sir, your investigation, I cannot speak higher of your investigation. It was absolutely amazing. When we did ours, and somebody had sent me an email about your video. I watched your video, and it was like looking in a mirror image of what we did. So, great job, my friend. Great, fantastic job. And so, but to be clear, we want to promote your video, your YouTube video of your findings. So, give out your channel again, please.
The name of the channel on YouTube is Montagraph. That's Montagraph. But what's most important here is not some self-promotional garbage, okay, because I don't care about any of that. The facts of the matter is that channel changed the name of the original video that was uploaded in July. That name of the video was put up by Sam Basile, okay, in July. And the name of it was like, The True Life of Muhammad. And then September 11th, News Politics Now #3 changed the name to Innocence of Muslims, all right? And that allowed it to get momentum. To the Tunisia conflict, because they had, Tunisia Spring or some crap that failed, all right? It was being pumped all over the web to allow some sort of let's say, momentum, so that way they could use it for an excuse. Listen, man, this whole thing was a setup. I'm sick. Listen, Hagmann and Hagmann, I appreciate you letting me chime in here. I just want to say, how much longer is it going to take for the American people to say enough is enough? If they lied about this, which they did, they lied about Sandy Hook, they, to disarm this country. They lied about 9/11. They've been lying their asses off for years, and I'm sick and tired of it, and you should be too. And I'm done, sir, and thank you very much for your time. I truly appreciate it.
God bless you, sir. Thank you so very much for your hard work and your efforts. They have not gone unnoticed. That's the Montagraph channel. And in fact, our earlier, one of my earlier reports about Benghazi, it provides a link. I'll dust that off and put that back up, because it's a fabulous investigation this gentleman did. And if you follow along, you can see the fingerprints, the footprints, and the signatures of our intelligence agencies and the subcontractors thereof.
Yeah, thanks for your time, and thanks for the call, sir.
Thank you, sir.
All right.
All right, moving right along here, we're going to go to area code 412. 412, you're up next. You're live on the Hagmann and Hagmann Report.
Hey, Doug, Joe.
My friend.
How's that eagle doing?
Good to hear your voice.
It's sitting right here, about 5 foot from my left arm, and I look at it and I've been thinking about you. How are you, sir?
Oh, I'm still recovering. I'm pretty down here, Doug. Your show tonight was excellent. Your previous shows have been excellent, and I can only say wow. As a disabled Vietnam veteran, as sick as I am, I've come a long way, but I don't think I'll be here much longer, and I pray for you guys to keep on doing what you're doing, because you're putting the word out, and to me that's important. And I just am just so frustrated that all these wars are for nothing. Everything is a lie. Let's go back to Oklahoma City. Let's go back to Waco. Let's go back to Ruby Ridge. Everything is a lie. These people in these offices need to be brought up for treason. All of them. Not one should be left standing. And I'm just, I'm in shock when I hear these guys on your show tonight, and I hear V, and I hear Steve Quayle, and the Bundy Ranch. It just won't stop, and I can't say the American people don't know, because they have to know. You know what I'm saying, Doug? They have to. They can't be that dumb. Nobody could be that dumb. And we're just going to be gobbled up and swallowed up and, fed to the Chinese, I guess. Learn to speak Russian. I don't know.
Well,
what say you?
Very good observations, obviously, and it saddens me to think that we've got a complicit media hiding, or in the lapdogs for this, and even previous administrations, this regime, previous regimes. It saddens me, and I think about you often, and I think about the sacrifices you've made for our country, and your service in Vietnam, and I think about the people who are giving their lives and losing limbs, and the families that are being broken by death and dismemberment of our troops that are being used as cannon fodder. And I've got to tell you, folks, whereas before, I was all for bombing the heck out of anyone who bombed us, and it's a rude awakening when you find out that everything's an illusion, everything's a lie. It really is. And I got to tell you, Steve, when I hit my knees at night, I do pray for you, and I pray for this country.
Well, thank you, Doug, and I feel that, because not too long ago I was almost not going to be here very much longer, and if it wasn't for Steve Quayle emailing me and sending me some important information, I did seek the medical treatment that I needed, and it has kept me alive, and I'm struggling. I'm not sure what I have yet, whether it's TB or Agent Orange or whatever, but I'm really struggling to breathe, and I got 1 or 2 flights left in me, and if Obama or the FBI or the CIA or Homeland Security wants one of them, I can give one of them up for one of them guys. It don't matter. I have 1 or 2 left, and I'm willing to give my life, what's left of it, for this country once more. So,
well, God bless
once
you,
again,
my friend.
Joe, take care of your dad, please.
Absolutely.
Wow. We will talk.
I'm all alone here since I buried my dad and my mother and everybody else. So I always think of you, Doug, and I always end the call by saying, Joe, take care of your dad, and God bless you guys.
Well,
it's great to hear your voice again.
Yeah, it is, and we need to touch base off air. We're very concerned. We're worried about you and want to keep you around for a while. You're a very important part of our lives, our show, and we just thank you for everything that you do and everything that we just thank you for being there. And you're a fighter, and we're proud of you.
Doug, any chances on you coming back on the Pizza and Tilly show?
Wow. Yeah, perhaps. It's there are no issues. It's just a scheduling, more of a scheduling problem than anything else.
Well, I'll talk to Pete in the next couple of days and try and get you on real soon, because this breaking information that's coming out with Harry Reid, and I'm sure you're on it, that we could use your expert investigation to get this, help us move this along a little further in what we're doing here, So I'll pass it on to Pete and get you on, man. All right. Good night, gentlemen. I'll be listening.
All right. Take care, and we'll talk soon. Oh, wow. Joe, I don't know. Tonight just seems like it's to me, it's been an emotionally draining program. I don't know why.
It has been. Listening to Mr. Plumlee and W talk and conversate about things that are so rarely talked about in a public circle, and to have two great minds together like that. And folks who may have tuned in late and are going to listen to the rebroadcast, it's a fantastic episode. The only issue we had was some sort of echo that started about halfway through the interview, and a little language issues, but nothing that adults can't look past. But, you know, when you get in the passions and emotions that we see today as this country crumbles, what can you expect?
And you're talking about collectively between those two gentlemen, well over a century of experience of, well, you heard Mr. Plumlee describe the brutal killings and what happened to him. I don't know if you caught that, of having the business end of a rifle inserted somewhere. Okay. I got to tell you, folks, and what he said as well about, you know, the normal average working person that works 8 to 5, I think were his words. They don't realize that there's an entirely different world out there, an entirely different paradigm that people don't have any clue exists, and you know, that we are so heavily involved. The United States, the criminal cabal within the United States government is so heavily involved in illegal operations and has been for so long. The lie is so big. And this does play, you know, it does play rather well into, or segues rather well into Friday's program as well, folks. Friday, we're going to have W on for the entire program. And we're also looking at perhaps trying to extend that as well into maybe another hour if we could possibly do that for our program.
And while we're talking about the schedule, let's just go through Sunday. We'll have Steve Quill and Pastor David Langford on for a special Sunday show, which those Sunday shows on spirituality are always fantastic. And next week, so far we have lined up Stan for Tuesday. We have Bill Salas coming on Wednesday, author of Israelistine, author of the Psalm 83 War. And Thursday we have Nathan Leal coming on.
We met Bill Salas when we were down in Orlando in the Prophecy Conference. I've got photographs of us together with Bill Salas, and of course photographs with us with Paul McGuire,
the Gilbert,
and Sher and Gilbert. Oh, tremendous people who will have on the air as well. I should post those photographs. I think they're pretty cool.
They're fantastic. And also, the end of this month, we have the conference in Montana that we will be attending courtesy of the Whitestone Remnant Conference 2014 in Bozeman, Montana, May 30th, 31st, and June 1st, which I've never been out west, and I'm really looking forward to going out there.
It will be a great time, the Whitestone Remnant Conference. Although there's a young lady that we met in Orlando that I believe probably thinks that we've abandoned her. We haven't done that. We're still working on a way to get you out there. So if you're listening to this broadcast, please don't give up hope. With that, folks, I just want to say thank you for bearing with us this evening. To me, I believe this was a historical broadcast, and wow, it was just an eye-opener. This is something that you perhaps would want to share with others. A very enlightening program. With that, I just want to say thank you so much for deliberately listening to this program, making time for us.
And until tomorrow night, stay safe. God bless. We will see you then.
Good night.